Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next few hours, along with Mike.
Good morning to you.
And Bruce.
And Bruce from Newport Richey, Florida.
And Spence.
Hey, good morning. Calling from high altitude.
And Nick is here.
I'm still from Albany. Nothing has changed.
Nick is the most northern host that we have.
That's not an accomplishment.
Well, it's all right. I came in here this morning and Wirecast crashed. So I had to reboot.
Say it ain't so.
Do some things. Well, I mean, it's expected. It's a beta. But everything seems to be okay now. All is well that ends well.
It's a beta.
Our number is 919-518-9773, and today is October 13th. Today's show is being brought to you by that VidBlaster guy, Tom Sinclair, and made possible by Bamboozer. I'm not cussing. Bamboozer is a name. So what's going on?
Not much. Have a good week.
All right, bye.
See you guys.
It's another slow week in technology.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey,
maybe.
If anybody listens to Steve Gibson's Security Now podcast, it's worth listening to. I don't think it's this past week's show, it's the week before. But he has come up with a new authentication method that could really be very important. He was talking about, it was pushed, he started to look at this because of the whole issue with the thumb print reader that came out on the new iPhone, and how within days it was already defeated. And he has an idea for authentication that could be really interesting. So I encourage people to listen to that podcast. But
how would one do that?
How are you going to do it? Well, you go to you can either go to Twit, which is Leo Laporte's operation, or you can go to there you go. Thank you, Nick. Security Now, or GRC, which is his website for. It's a very simple website. He developed things like SpinRite. He's got a lot of really good security tools. He's the person who coined the phrase spyware back when that first started. He's the one who's been pounding away at
so it's
Microsoft
all his fault.
Yeah, it's all his fault.
So it's all his fault.
But he's a good guy. He's got a good. The show is. It can get very technical, but they have a very good, easy way about them, how they present technology. And they've got a series of podcasts on technology you can listen to, like how does a computer work, for example. He goes through like 5 episodes. It's all available on his website. You can download even very small, low bit rate, low quality audio if you need to. But the point of this is that he brought up what everybody's concerned about is security, and even with multi-factor authentication, there are still issues. And so he's got a very elegant idea where when you go to a website, now this does require that you have a smartphone, which a lot of people have, but he puts up one of those, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's that cube of, it's like a barcode, but it's a cube that contains all this information. You see it on products now. You see it on the ketchup on the table in the restaurant. Just scan here to get more information. You do that. You go to the website you want to log into. Could be a bank. You scan that. Then there's a very elegant exchange of public and private keys between the two devices, and it lets you log in. And as long as you can protect the security on your phone, and he's working on a way to do that too. Yeah, QR codes. Thank you. You'll be able to use this. It is. He went through all the different ways it could potentially be defeated, and figured out that it's actually very bulletproof. But I listened for about an hour to this podcast. It was fascinating. This could really be something, because as long as you have the phone in your control, in your possession, and you have it locked in a way that if you do lose control of it, that no one can go in and use it to defeat this. It's a very elegant idea. Say it could be used as your master password. He talked about having basically a master ID that you would never lose, never change.
I listened to that on my way driving from Melbourne, Florida, Friday late afternoon to Newport Richey, where I'm at today. It was fascinating, and he covered every objection. It was wonderful because obviously you listened to it, but people were typing in the chat, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And every question, every objection, every potential problem he has already addressed, including the ability for people without a smartphone to have a way to get in. So I think it's going to be a great thing. The question remains is how are we going to apply pressure or influence to get website creators to make this available as a sign-in. I mean, right now, you get the Facebook sign-in and the Google Plus sign-in or just an email and password sign-in. Everybody's getting into single sign-on. I know our company is. We just installed a single sign-on option for our ProStream website. But yeah, it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So let's hopefully people will buy into this soon.
See, I also listened to the episode and I thought it was a really interesting idea, but I'm not 100% sure if this is the one way to do it. I think that this would be a good part of a two-factor authentication, because the fears with this is now people are really going to have a reason to steal your phone. When you set your phone down at the coffee shop and you do turn around to say hello to somebody, now your phone is actually gone. And I think that this is going to be a big player in two-factor, but I think this could go along well with a regular password, so that great, you stole my phone, you can get through the first part, but now you still have to know my password. So that's just more time that you have to either disable that feature or whatever it is.
He did say that we got to address the phone security issue, and it's good because this could bring awareness of that out to people too, to make people pay attention. If you want to go with this new method, you have to come up with a way of securing the phone.
Okay, so who's going to push back on this? Facebook? I mean, Facebook has a lot to gain by having you sign in and linking this different website to your Facebook account for advertising purposes. What kind of chance do you think there is of anything like this remotely being adopted on a large scale?
I don't know, but I know some people are getting pissed when it's taking more than 30 seconds. Right, Nick?
I was reading some stuff through it, looking at it right now. I think he needs to actually put out a guide to implementing this, because I thought this would be something cool to just implement on my website as well, just to kind of see how well it works. And there really isn't a guide for it yet. So I think once it's thought out more, and once he puts out an official, all right, this is how you set this up on your web server, then I think that's when we'll see people start implementing this.
The good news is he made it available. He wasn't going to say, "Oh, I'm going to try to."
Yeah.
He said, "This is too good an idea. I don't want to control it. I want to just put it out there and let people comment and add to it and improve it and so on." So it's to his credit, he's not looking to copyright this and control it.
Actually, there is a WordPress plugin for this. I'm going to install this right now and see. We'll give it a whirl. See what happens.
The downside to this is just you may create a bunch of lazy people. So, it's so easy. I just have this one thing to do, and then they forget to think about. You keep drilling into people's heads about security, and now it becomes so easy to do that they don't pay attention to potential exploits.
Well, there's enough sophistication to this that I'm not sure the lazy people will take the time to employ it.
Yeah. Do you remember years ago, he used to talk about YubiKey? It was a company Germany that came out with a multi-factor. Essentially, it was a USB dongle that would remember your password. You had to physically have this thing. It was multi-factor. It was a really elegant way of remembering very long passwords. And I'm not sure what happened to them. I think they're still around. But good stuff.
There was another really big tech news story this week regarding Google changing their terms of service. There are some people who like it, some people who don't like it. Some people don't mind it so much, like the way they did it. But anyway, it's the whole idea about Google now being able to associate your Google Plus picture and your name with products and services that you comment on or plus one on. So what do you guys think about that? Are you aware of that? And you're automatically opted in. You have to opt out. So the good thing about it is they let us know that they were going to do this in a month. And we're very out front about it and say, if you want to opt out, here's the link where you can do that.
Oh, I knew about it. I didn't exactly understand what they were trying to say. They write these things so that it's really difficult to know what it is they're trying to tell you and what the real reach is. And then they can say, well, we told you it was right there. And you go back in retrospect and read the notice, and then it's clear. You understand what their intent is. I think that shame on them for making it opt out instead of opt in. That's always been my case for anything that is compromising any sort of privacy issue. There are people who tend to cancel their Facebook pages. I'm beginning to understand that. I certainly don't spend very much time on Facebook. As far as Google Plus is concerned, I mean, bottom line, I don't know how much harm there can be in it, because if you put it out there, expect it to be everywhere. Don't be surprised when you see your name beside an ad somewhere, because it's always been there, legally or otherwise. But bottom line is that they shame on them. They ought not to be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Well, I actually talked about you. I was in the Google Plus show Friday night, and there was a rather passionate discussion because they talk about all things Google Plus. And I was using you as an example, for instance. I mean, you have websites, you have your Scoop page, and you talk. And Dan McDermott acknowledged, that you were, a real authority on audio. So you're posting and recommending different microphones and stuff like that. But you also have the ability, as do many other people, to have affiliate links and to benefit from your name, your reputation in recommending different products. And, I don't like Google being able to do this without my permission, or, like you said, having it automatically, opted in. And I don't have near the influence in recommending things that you do, especially in the world of audio. But I don't like them being able to leverage my reputation like that when I might otherwise, benefit from it myself.
You mean you don't want to be well known for recommending different types of toenail fungus cream?
Well, particularly if none of them works.
Hey, Bruce, did you get my email?
I'm just answering Gene. Let me check and see.
Yeah, I sent you an email.
Okay.
And it's you're the one that's supposed to be doing this.
Okay.
But it would be nice if someone would come up with a utility or script or something that would allow you to go into Facebook and Google Plus and turn off all that crap instead of having to read through and click here, click there, stand on your head, wiggle your left toe with fungus. I mean, it would be nice if they would simplify it, but they make it, they intentionally obfuscate the procedure so that you don't bother to go through with it, at least in my opinion.
Until they change it the next week when they change it.
Right, and then they opted in. But you can opt out. All you have to do is go through these 3 steps, and you're out.
Yep.
Well, actually, if you log into Gmail, on your notifications, you will see. I mean, they've been very upfront about it. I would give them credit for this.
Sure.
Yes, that and if you go to the page, it will give you a link, and all you have to do is check that box. So it's
All
not,
right.
it's very simple to do. I did it in less than two clicks.
All
Clicks.
I'm just
So-
clicking on it, and I'm going to Google Plus. And where is the link?
Well, I'm not sure when you'll get it. I saw it in a drop down on my notifications. I clicked on my notifications, and I actually had a notification about this. It
On
just
the Google
automatic-
Plus page, not on the Gmail.
Right.
Well, you can get it on both.
That's right.
I mean,
it's the same.
notifications
Yeah.
is the same on either one.
Mine's still spinning, so I'm going to wait for it to finish, and then maybe it will never.
While
Well,
you are
if it showed up and you missed it, it's probably gone. So
Google
I'll-
Terms of Service updated. Then I have to
Okay.
click on Learn More.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Then I have all this 96 pages. No, it's not that much. Okay, so then where is this link? Do I have to read through here to figure out how to turn it off?
Yeah, scroll down. You'll see. But when Facebook did this, they didn't notify anybody, and they got there was hell to pay for that. So at least Google gave a month's warning. Hey guys, this is what we're going to do, and if you want to opt out, here's how you do it.
Hey, Mike, at least you're an attorney. You understand all
So-
this language there.
Oh, yeah, I understand it all. It's magic.
All this legal mumbo-jumbo.
Share
Transparent
endorsements
what we
and
call-
settings.
Jeff Bundy says transparent
Obfuscation.
obfuscation.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've already been through it and turned it off. I just found the link, and there's a hidden down at the bottom is this sentence that says, based upon my activity, Google may show my name and profile photo in shared endorsements that appear in ads. It's not checked.
Okay.
It's conceivable I already turned it off.
Or does it come unchecked by default?
They said that it was going to be enabled by default, and I did see it and did click
Okay.
through some things. But,
All right.
I mean, a lot of the times these things come in when you're busy doing 27 other things.
Yeah. Mine was checked by default.
Yes, I think it is checked by default. I can go to 10 of my other accounts and see if it's checked there.
So what are the issues with this? I mean, let's forget about how they did it, or we know the why, right? They're into advertising and everything. Some people say that hey, I think it's going to be a good thing to see that my friends recommended this particular product, that sort of thing.
But go back to what Spence said. What if the recommendation is for condoms? How do you feel about that?
I thought he was talking about antifungal toe cream.
Well, then
Okay, well,
let's just go with some example of a product that you don't approve of. Let's suppose you're a teetotaler and it's for wine or alcohol.
Well,
What
if
would
I'm
be
a
the
teetotaler,
context?
I
In
might not have
context.
plus one those products, so it wouldn't
what
be an
would be
issue.
the context? What would be the context for how you would be known for it, though?
Right, but
It would
and
be
we're trusting that the algorithms work well.
Yeah. So if
Well, the
you're
other-
in a chat with somebody and they're talking about wine, and you say, I'm not into wine, does that get captured? And then, how do they use it?
Or do you want some cheese with that wine?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other issue, the big question that I have is how. I mean, we understand the why, but how are they going to implement this? What kind of algorithm are they going to use to decide whether they're going to use my recommendations or your recommendations or whose recommendations? I mean, obviously they're going to go with perhaps the most popular people or the people with the greatest sphere of influence, everything. But how is this going to work? How are they going to make the choice to do it on this recommendation or this plus one and not do it on this one, or do it for this person but not for that person?
Going to be the people with the most in the most circles, I would think.
Yeah.
That's where the benefit is.
What, I guess I missed something. I'm on the page with the new information on it. I don't see a checkbox. Which link? And there's a bunch of links in there.
Did you get the notification?
Yeah.
Do you have the notification?
Yeah,
Then-
and I clicked on Learn More. And it
then
opened.
somewhere down in there, there's a buried link that says settings. Search for the word settings, and there's a link.
I
with
saw the one about shared endorsements settings.
Right. Click that one. Click that one. And then scroll all the way to the bottom.
Shared endorsements. Based upon is checked.
That's right. Uncheck it and
Okay,
save.
I did. All right. Why would they do it so check? That's really not right.
But it's a free service. They can do what they darn well
that's
please.
true.
You come
It's
to me
true.
as an attorney and say, I don't like this, and I'd say, cancel your account.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's they can do whatever they want, but normally everything is in the favor of the user, kind of.
But
it's
now
like-
I have an interesting question here, and I guess this is somewhat rhetorical considering the complexity and the enormity of the challenge. But considering, I'm being funny when I say this, considering how weird some of these Linux guys are, why haven't they created a service like this for people who don't want their privacy thrown out the window? Why isn't there an insiders type competition for Google Plus and Facebook? I mean, these Linux guys, they can do anything, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a Linux guy. I can do anything.
There you go. So why haven't you done it, Nick?
'Cause I don't feel it's important.
He was too busy fixing the healthcare.gov page for the federal government.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made $70 million off of it.
What do you mean?
No,
Just 70?
That's all. The budget to create healthcare.gov was $90 million.
Right.
What did they spend?
At last take, they had spent $680 million, and it still doesn't work.
Well, there you go. There's the perfect example as to why they shouldn't even be doing this to start with, because nothing will cost what they estimate.
I talked to my daughter, who is a Drupal programmer now, and just finished her first big website job, and
Awesome.
really, really excited about it. But she said, Dad, I don't know if you know this, but when healthcare.gov was first being developed, it was a Drupal site. In fact, she said most of your government sites are Drupal sites. But then they changed it to SharePoint. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, probably.
It's definitely a problem. And our
The
money
problem
is
with
being
the
wasted.
healthcare,
Sorry.
the problem with healthcare.gov, from what I understand, is the database back end, because supposedly they went in and disabled the requirement that you had to have an account to get information. Now, apparently, you can at least get to the static pages with information.
The other troubles that I've been reading about go beyond the user experience. It's the information that's being delivered to the insurance companies is not complete enough for them to actually process applications. They're saying that the back end, the insurance company side of the application doesn't work, and that they're unable to process even those basic requests. They said they're trying to make it more friendly for the user, but they're not doing much to fix the insurance side.
I watched one news story where a guy, he goes in to create his account, and he creates his username and password. He goes to the next page, and then he can't go any farther. It says, try again later. So he tries again later, and he gets the message, this username and password has already been taken. I mean, that's a simple thing to take care of. What's with that?
Well, if that's the way they manage a website, just wait till they start managing your healthcare.
They need to go to Craig Digital Designs to get the site done. Don't you agree?
Yes. CraigDigitalDesigns.com for your healthcare.gov website.
But in all seriousness, what part of that website costs $700 million to make? Like, just looking at this and knowing what kind of, it's not a custom CMS. It's a theme. The back end's probably custom.
Yeah.
But does it really cost $700 million to make it?
No, it's $200,000 to create the website, and the rest is to pay off the politicians.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, think
By the way,
about
Nick,
it.
are you on your ATR 2100?
I am.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I am.
Tap on it. Yeah?
Yeah, something sounds really funky.
I was messing around. I unhooked everything from my mixer yesterday, so something might not be plugged in right.
It doesn't. It sounds more like a digital issue than an analog issue.
Come here. Let me reconnect.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But go ahead.
Well, that's all I had about that.
Who was going to say something?
Well, I was going to say about what is wrong with the government doing this. You have people who aren't qualified to manage these things trying to do this stuff. And with any bureaucracy like this, there's no accountability. They're not going to get fired for screwing up. There's no, in a business, if you take on a project and it craters, you're gone.
Can you imagine?
Find somebody who can do it. In this case, the person just gets moved to another place because it's so hard to fire anybody.
Can you imagine in a company when a department is saying we need $100 to do something, and they appropriate it for them, and then later on they come and say, "Oh, we're already over 1,000." What's going to happen there?
Well, let's back up.
Now, here we're talking about millions.
Yeah, but look at it this way, Anon. For $90 million,
Sheesh.
I may be wrong. And $90 million, I believe you could buy any software development company in the United States.
Absolutely. I mean, all you have to do is hire a few programmers that will do it just right.
Well, listen to this. This is from a website. Given the complicated nature of federal contracts, it's difficult to make a direct comparison between the cost to develop healthcare.gov and the amount of money spent building private online businesses. But for sake of putting the monstrous amount of money into perspective, here are a few figures to chew on. Facebook, which received its first investment in 2004, operated a full 6 years before surpassing the 500 million mark. Twitter, created in 2006, managed to get by with only $360 million in total funding until a $400 million boost in 2011. Instagram ginned up at least $57.5 million in funding before Facebook bought it for a staggering $1 billion last year. And LinkedIn and Spotify have only raised respectively $200 million and $288 million.
Look at Spotify.
Right.
Look at all the stuff that they store. Their music library.
Yeah.
Nick, you're actually worse.
One of the comparisons I heard was that they went to, I think it was either United Healthcare or Cigna, one of the big insurance companies, and looked at the way they managed their websites. And they gave a comparison to somebody creating an account on United Healthcare, and it took 30 seconds, and the person had an account. So it's and it worked, and they had access to their all their records and all their claims and all this. It's astounding. Why didn't they hire an insurance company to write the software?
Let's hear you, Nick.
Hello.
That sounds better.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I
Anyway,
was while you were. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, listen, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the political side of things, but the people in charge of Healthcare Gov were asked how they felt about the major screw-up they did, and they just smiled and said, it's doing what it was supposed to do, indicating that they intended it to be disruptive.
Yep.
It's kind of like this Apple stuff where they release a product and don't make enough of them so that people buy them out and they're sold out on day one. They wanted it to look like the demand was so great. They just had no clue how to gauge what was going on. I think, what was it I saw? It's something like 4% of the people who've been to healthcare.gov have gotten it to work correctly still.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Actually, I think it was not 4%. I think it was only 40,000 people have been able to get it to work. I don't think that has a whole lot to do with it being one site for the whole country. It has to do with incompetence and lack of a government accountability.
You know, maybe the everybody except our president realized that this is a fiasco.
Well, maybe what if they wanted it to be that way, Amnon? What if this is exactly what they designed it to do?
So it will be scrubbed? I'm thinking maybe it'll get scrubbed.
Not a chance.
I think their ultimate goal is single payer.
Well,
They want everybody to be in the same
We'll,
system.
we'll talk about this during our political show.
There you go.
Well, here's another computer glitch. Just since we're in technology and situations, did you notice that people in Ohio, Michigan, and 15 other states found themselves unable to use their food stamp debit-style cards on Saturday after a routine test of backup systems by vendor Xerox Corporation resulted in a system failure?
Ouch.
Yeah. It's back up and running now, but beneficiaries in 15 affected states were having connectivity issues to access their benefits.
So do we have a lot of hungry people?
Well, what was it connecting? Was it their smartphones that weren't connecting? Was it the terminals at the stores? What was it not connecting?
It was they had this food stamp debit style card. Okay, it's a debit card, and they would slide it, just like they would any other kind of debit card, and they weren't able to connect to get to verify, that they had money left in their account to pay for whatever it was they're going to pay for.
Yeah, and what's the store to do? The store has said sorry.
Mm-hmm. I'll
Wow.
put the link to the story in the chat.
Wow. Yeah, that's no fun. All right.
Just think about if that was done intentionally. At some point, you could instantly create a situation for some really bad things to happen.
Intentionally now, Spence, you mean the government would do something like close off the shoulders of the roads at Mount Rushmore so tourists can't pull over and look at it? Because of the government shutdown?
Yes, I saw that.
Okay.
You couldn't, on a public highway that wasn't, they put up cones, because there's one spot as you approach Mount Rushmore that's actually pretty cool, where you come in from the side and you can look up and see George Washington's face in profile. And they closed it off so people couldn't stop there.
And how much money does that save the government?
Talking about some more government screw-ups. And this
Show's
is
only 3 hours, Amnon.
And this is for our North Carolina people. What is it, Nick?
I said, be nice, Mike.
This is for North Carolina. Guilford County. Remember how we talked about how, every kid is getting a tablet a couple of weeks ago? A couple of months ago. Well, Guilford County Schools headline-grabbing tablet program is back in the news again. The program came to an abrupt end last Friday when the school district announced that they were recalling all the Amplify tablets. GCS had leased over 15,000 of the tablets at a cost of $200 a year for its middle school students, but decided to recall the tablet just 1 month into the school year after some 1,500 students reported a broken screen. Around 2,000 complained of improperly fitting cases, and there were also 175 reports of malfunctioning power supplies. There's currently no explanation for the cases or power supplies, but GCS has stated that the tablets broke because they lacked a layer of Gorilla Glass. This was listed in the contract, but the school district did not confirm the condition of the tablets before accepting them. This program was the poster child for News Corp's entry into the educational market. It was the single largest program to use the Amplify tablet, and its failure represents a serious setback. The Amplify tablet now has the record for poor construction quality and a breakage rate that is 12 times higher than what Square Trade reported in early 2012 for the iPad 2. This is, what do they expect? This is the lowest bidder. In middle school, really? I mean, I don't know what they were trying to prove by giving middle school kids a tablet. You take a group of kids and give them tablets. It's, in my opinion, they start playing games. And besides, it's not theirs, so drop it or whatever.
True. These tablets are not inexpensive either. I mean, I think looking at the website, they were like $300 per tablet.
Yeah, I mean, it takes money for a tablet. I mean,
Yeah, but if it's $300, you don't need to buy some crappy Android knockoff tablet.
Right. Yeah.
You could get the Galaxy Tab, and I'm not saying they should do this. I think the Galaxy Tab 2 is only $200, and that's a very comparable device. And that Samsung makes that, and it's definitely not a piece of junk.
And this is not $200. This is $200 a year.
Yeah, for the tablet.
Yeah.
You're paying yearly for these things. It's not.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't even really own it.
Right.
It doesn't cost $200 a year for a tablet.
In a way, that's a good thing that they leased it and didn't buy it, because I think it'll be easier for them to deal with.
Well, there's really no way to buy it. They only offer a program where you pay for it each year.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, Bruce, did you read the sermon I sent you yet?
I haven't read it totally yet.
I don't know if you can make it sound kind of like a sermon.
Yeah.
For Sunday morning.
So I have kind of a technology question here.
Wrong show.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to be heading to a family event tonight, and football is on. And the house that I'm going to doesn't have cable TV, but they have internet. I'm trying to figure out how I can stream cable TV to myself without using a CDN like Justin TV or something that'll end up knocking me off. Anybody have
wait a minute. Can't you do your capture card into Skype, set Skype on auto answer, and then Skype into your home computer?
Well, I'm not sure how Skype video works on mobile. Have you had any experience with it? Like I've never.
My experience is none of it works on mobile, but your experience could be different.
Yeah,
my experience, Skype video works fine on mobile. I use it quite frequently.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily. It's not. I wouldn't be sending video. I'd be receiving video, and I'm not sure how that's going to work. If it's going to be 1 frame a second, and
Well, try it.
Pixels, yeah.
Well, it sounded to me like you were wanting to watch TV independently of what they were watching at the place where you're going.
No, I need to stream it from my house because they don't have cable. So I was thinking I could
Stream what from your house?
Football. I have a cable box and a capture card, so I can hook it up.
Then just install Chrome Remote Desktop on that PC at home, and install Chrome Remote Desktop on the laptop or whatever you're taking away. You can remote into it, and Chrome Remote Desktop will transmit not only the screen, but also the audio as well.
Well, 30 frames a second.
I do it, and it works out fine for me. I'm not sure what the frames per second are, but
okay, yeah, I was thinking something like TeamViewer, but I mean that's the frames on that thing are horrible. I was thinking maybe I could do I think Justin TV offers private channels. You have to have like a password to view, and I thought that might have been a solution, but I guess I could try Skype and Chrome.
Why wouldn't you?
What, through Justin TV?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they shut it down, even though it's a private channel. Technically, it's illegal to be.
You don't want to publicly stream it, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they. I mean, of course they have the access to turn off. I'm not sure if they will turn it off if I have a password on it, because you can do password protected channels.
How about a private Roku channel?
I won't be. I won't have my Roku with me. I'll only have my phone.
Well, they don't have internet anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So you're going to watch it on the phone.
Yeah, pop for a sling box. That's a good solution.
Yeah. Okay, I won't have access to one of those today. We'll have to see what happens.
I don't know, but you really don't have to have it at 30 frames a second. They say that the human eye cannot see, what is it, over 15 or 16?
You really don't need 640K of RAM either, Amnon.
Yeah, I mean, it's sports. I want to be able to watch it in a fluent frame rate. If it's not going to be fluent, might as well just watch like look at ESPN's, up to date.
Manny in the chat, are you reading it, Nick?
Says
he's using
JumaCam or Splashtop.
Okay, I've used Splashtop Streamer before, so maybe I have to install that. Thank you very much.
And God forbid you will miss it.
Well, it's not that. It's just I have no interest in being there, so I might as well enjoy myself while I'm there.
Good morning, Andrew.
All right, on another technology issue. Do you remember many years ago there was a major issue with what are called bulging caps in computer printed circuit boards, motherboards?
Yeah.
Well, the problem was caused by a limited run of chemicals that was sold to capacitor manufacturers. Once the problem was identified, it was supposedly solved.
Supposedly.
I have run into 3 circuits in the past week with bulging capacitors.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is still there. One of these is a motherboard that belongs to a friend of mine. It had 9 bulging capacitors on it.
Right by the back of it in the corner where the keyboard goes, right?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. It's a very weird layout. It's 7 on a back row interspersed with others, and 2 up in the front row. And they're different values. I just got in yesterday. In fact, I've ordered the replacement parts. The way this motherboard is laid out, it's almost impossible to desolder the existing parts. The pads on the motherboard are so small you really can't get the soldering iron to transfer any heat, considering that there's a power and or ground plane inside the inside layers. It's a major problem. I had to get a buddy of mine who's got a little different equipment to go in and clean the holes out so I could put the parts in. We may have boogered the motherboard, but by the end of the day today, I will know whether replacing these parts is going to fix the motherboard. The motherboard actually worked, but you could clearly see all 9 of these caps were bulging and leaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent some time with a company. There's a company here in Cary called Expert Computer Repair on Maynard Road near High House Road. These guys, they seem to do, from what I can tell, a really good job, and they seem to be honest, which is important. But they actually have a solder reflow gun, which means that instead of using a soldering iron with a tip on it, it's actually blowing hot air onto the motherboard, onto the surface. The benefit of the hot air is that it melts the solder, both pads at one time. It heats the surrounding area. It also heats the ground plane, so it gives you a different sort of process. These, in the professional soldering business, these reflow systems are very expensive, $1,000 or more. Well, it turns out now that there are some manufacturers who have released them for $140. They've got a couple of these they paid $140 each for. And they are actually doing some board-level repairs there, the simple stuff, nothing complicated, because they have the right tools to be able to do it. Well, I'm probably going to buy one of these things because I'm really surprised at how many of these motherboards are having with bad caps. And if you've got the right tools to replace them, it's not hard to do if you know what you're doing. I sort of know what I'm doing because without the right tools, it's hard to get any efficiency at it. But obviously, I know how to replace caps, and I understand the parts that need to be replaced. So we'll see how it goes. I hate throwing away a motherboard just because it's got bad caps, because you can fix them for 50 cents a piece if you know how to do so, and it's sort of uncomfortable to have to throw them out.
Somebody sent a pretty good link to a good video on YouTube yesterday about how to solder.
I sent out the link on the link that I sent out. It's a company called Pace. They have manufactured commercial soldering equipment for 50 years, and they released a how to solder video series on film back in 1980. They have now put that series, and as corny as it is, they have now put that series on YouTube. I'll give you the channel, and I will tell you, I've been soldering almost 50 years. My father was a TV repairman. It was something that was very intriguing to me many, many years ago. And I will tell you that I watched the entire first part of the series, and I learned quite a bit. There are things that I did not know after all these years.
I mean, it's
And
very
if you're
interesting.
Pace, the YouTube channel is, come on. I'm looking at the channel, but I think it's Pace Worldwide. PACE Worldwide altogether is the name of the channel. Let me see if I can. Yes, that's it. I'm going to post this in chat, I think. Knows. Nick. This ID thing works sometimes it doesn't. Input director. All right, so we're going to disable input director, and then we're going to enable it as a master. And okay, let's see. Now it works again. Okay. And so hopefully here, yes. I just posted in chat the YouTube channel for this piece worldwide. Now, it's corny, and you got to have the right equipment, but it's very, very useful information. If you have a soldering iron, if you own one, you should spend some time watching that. I've only done the basic soldering lessons 1 through 9, found it to be fascinating. The ones that I'm more interested in are called Rework and Repair, lessons 1 through 8, which I will watch sometime today as far as I know. These are not short. One's 12 minutes, 10 minutes, 23 minutes, 14 minutes, 15 minutes. It's very comprehensive. Then, this is interesting, I'm just looking at it on multi-layer repair. That's going to be interesting because it's 28 minutes. Because computer motherboards are multi-layers. They have between 4, sometimes 4 to 6 layers. You can only see the top and bottom, that being 2, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They have anywhere from 2 to 4 layers in between those layers that have traces and designs and things like that. And that's how they make things miniature.
We have a real shy caller with us now, so be gentle on him.
Uh-huh.
Please be gentle on me, Mike.
Yes.
I'm very shy.
Yeah.
Good
What's
morning,
up,
guys. How
Andrew?
are you?
Good morning,
Well-
Andrew.
I just called in quickly just to talk about the soldering stuff that Mike's talking about. It's really important to know soldering if you know computing or you like to fiddle around with stuff. And I think it's something that's not stressed enough. I've heard people make jokes about it. I was telling somebody that I had to solder or something. They go, "Why don't you just go buy a new one?" And I go, "I could go buy a new one, or I could fix it for 10 cents, and I could learn something." It's not about going and buying the new one, but it's actually even if it's like a $20 item, it's a good thing to test on and learn how to solder on. My father soldered, my grandfather soldered. My grandfather was a jeweler, so he knew a lot of. He was really good with his hands when it came to that. And I learned how to solder young. And my TV went bad about a couple of years ago. It was a brand new Samsung. I didn't have warranty. I had nothing. A rep came, looked at the TV, and told me it's going to cost $600 to fix it. And I asked him what it was. He goes, "Oh, there's a couple capacitors that went bad, and we need to replace the entire board because they don't change the capacitors." I opened it up. I saw the bad capacitors, and I took them out, and I put in new capacitors. It cost me 50 cents.
If you're willing, I mean, if you got nothing to lose, if it doesn't work and you're not
It's
going to
not
pay
working,
the money,
so,
why
yeah.
not take a shot at it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. And anything could go bad. I mean, even if you have an old computer that went bad that you haven't used, open it up, take a look at the motherboard, and learn how to solder on that. I think it's important.
I don't know. People, it's interesting to go through YouTube and just type in the search word solder, S-O-L-D-E-R. It's not solder, it's solder, as in S-O-D-D-E-R. Although in Europe they do pronounce it solder, I'm told. So this one guy says you can call and you can hit me in the comments about the pronunciations if you want to, but it's done both ways, so get over it. But it's very interesting, and I would say that the point I was going to make is if you do that search, you will see that there are many videos on how to repair your headphones with a solderless connector. Those get most hits. People are really intimidated by the entire soldering process, and I would say that if you're interested in it, there are two things or three or four things that are most important that will get you past the hump. Like I'm trying to get past the hump in woodworking. The first is make sure you have a temperature-controlled soldering iron. John says he's got about 10 used iron if anybody needs one. Some of these things that you just hook them up and they just heat and heat and heat and heat. And you have to have one that has a controlled temperature. The next thing you have to do is to practice getting the right amount of heat on the connection. If you put too much on it, you'll destroy the board. If you put too little on it, you will not get the wetting process. The solder will not flow on the components. You will not have a good connection. Even though the timing is very critical, once you've done it 100 times, and I'm not exaggerating, you will eventually get the feel for it. You'll see the flow, and the hard part is to realize that once you get the flow, take the heat off. Those videos, that channel that I posted, that Pace Worldwide video, goes into the entire process. If you watch that video and get a decent soldering iron, and unfortunately a decent soldering station is about $150. But I've had mine 20 years. They last forever. The parts are replaceable. Mine is probably now a $140 one, and the one I would get now would be about a $180 one because it would have the digital readout on the temperature control. Mine does temperature control through the tip. I have a Weller WTCP-T, but it works great if you know what you're doing. And I've been doing this stuff for so many years. It's just second nature to me. But I did learn. You can always learn something. Don't fool yourself. In fact, Nick will tell you that I'm a big advocate of if there's something you really need to understand, assume that you're a beginner and go back to day one, start from scratch. You might be surprised what you missed in the process. And those fundamentals, those core concepts that you miss can be the difference between learning how to do things well and not getting it right.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Nice to be here.
Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see some videos being posted about soldering. There's one thing I never really got on well with. I managed, but I don't know, more often than not I messed it up and then I had to sort of do it again and again and eventually got there. So, yeah, it's nice to see some videos for technique and things, which I'm sure will come in handy. Everything cool.
Did you see the one that I posted in the Skype group?
No,
That's
I
the
didn't.
same one I posted here.
Okay. Well, I've bookmarked it, so I've actually got the page open. I'll go and have a look at that later. But yeah, very useful to have that skill.
Even if you don't plan to, it's fascinating to see how this technology works. Everything in your life, and this is sort of a comment they made in the introduction in this video series. They show a picture of the rocket taking off, and they make a great point. Everything in your life is affected by someone's ability to solder.
Yeah.
Your pacemaker, your television, your telephone, your cell phone, everything is soldered. They do go into soldering bifurcated terminals, solder terminals, cup terminals. A lot of those aren't used anymore because of the miniaturization of circuits. But there are still places where you will encounter those, particularly if you build any of your own circuits. But it's fascinating. One of the things I learned is that I probably need to get a different tip for my soldering iron. The one I use works fine, but it probably does not have enough of a chisel point on it. I need a smaller chisel point. I have not bought any tips in many years. I also learned that there's a new way of cleaning the tip, but I won't go into all that right now. If anybody's interested, we could. But
Hey, George Thomas does a segment called Smoke and Solder on Ham Nation, one of the podcasts on Twit, and he's from Mississippi, and he's got a number of projects that he does, but he talks a lot about soldering. He has a website called amateurlogic.tv. It's a blog, but he's got some interesting things to share about soldering as well. So,
amateurlogic.tv, is that where he talks about it? Okay.
Well, that's his particular website, and I'm not sure. I mean, you'd have to go into the archives or search his archives, but he's got a lot of videos and things on different projects he's done related to ham. But he's Pretty cool guy. But he does a segment on Ham Nation called Smoke and Solder. And you can see his whole setup. And a lot of times he's actually doing projects and soldering things together.
I had to solder. My brother got new pickups for his guitar, and I had to teach him how to solder just the other day. So I soldered him on. I taught him how to do it, and he's going to be putting on new ones on another guitar this week.
Yeah, that's tricky. I mean, one of the soldering is a lot like, in many ways, like woodworking. It's really easy to screw up a whole lot in a hurry. So it's not without its solder smoke. It's not without its risk. But again, practice on something that doesn't matter.
It's always fun burning your fingers regularly too.
Well, I recommend not doing that, Steve.
But you definitely learn from your mistakes when you do burn your fingers.
Oh, you'll learn.
Sure.
In fact, it's interesting you should say that, because this desoldering, reflow desoldering tool that this guy showed me over at the computer shop it looks like a large soldering iron, but the barrel of the unit is probably an inch in diameter. It blows air through it. It narrows down to the end so that it concentrates the air into the nozzle to concentrate the heat. And he said that not long after he got it, he wasn't paying really close attention, and he reached over and picked it up by the barrel. Or 700 degrees F.
I bet
by
you
the
didn't
way,
hold
Mac,
on to it long.
I got to put this away, and I don't want to change the subject and everything, but because you've commented on this a number of times in the show, I want you to look at the headlines on the Tampa Bay Times.
Don't leave it there. Let me get back to it.
Okay.
Obamacare Gold, millennials.
Yep. And it's all about both sides in the battle aim to influence young people who are a key element. I know you brought that up on the show before, and you've asked Nick some key questions, but that is the key. So.
Well, the system, this is not criticism. It's not negative.
Right.
The system depends on people who don't need health care paying for it.
Right.
That's the way any insurance system functions, as I understand it.
Right.
That's the way Social Security functions. People who aren't drawing it need to be paying into it for people who are.
Yeah.
That's just arithmetic. Yep.
Yeah. But I thought about you when I saw that headline.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I hate being
Thank you very much.
The word Obamacare.
All right, guys, I'm going to head out. I just wanted to call and tell Mike he's absolutely right with soldering.
I want to know what kind of soldering
going?
iron you used.
Just a cheapo one.
Okay.
Well, I have two. I have one that's a larger tip, and then the other one, the one that I use is generally the pointier tip.
All right. You going around today, or are you going out drinking?
I have a...
So, hey, if we've ever seen anything, we've seen and understand.
What was that?
I don't know. That's not me.
I don't know. Not me.
I have a meeting which is going to involve drinking at 1 o'clock, but I'll be back.
Why does that not surprise me?
And everybody,
went to a vineyard yesterday.
And everybody, Andrew pot faded for a while there, but he's back with a vengeance.
I did one show. I pot faded one show.
Yeah, but it's back.
The best show, though.
Do you guys really enjoy it?
Yes.
I think it's insane.
Yeah.
Friday night at 8 o'clock on the GFQ network is free for all.
Not safe for work.
It is definitely not safe for work. It's not safe for home either.
But whenever we're not getting into all the smut, it's a really funny and entertaining show. It's at the right time. It's the good way to end a week, and that's just the way it is. If you don't like it, that's too bad.
Just don't bring your grandma.
Right on.
Yeah,
It's not safe for
definitely
work
not.
or the home. It's safe for your basement, possibly, if you have a cellar somewhere. A tiny room where nobody else could enter.
Yeah.
But,
All right.
Yeah.
Take care. Brush
All right.
your hair.
Take care, brush your hair, guys.
See ya. Let's see what else is going on here. We need to watch what we put on blogs and websites, apparently. It's probably
And that
going to
is?
come here. 7 top European Union judges have ruled that a leading internet news website is legally responsible for offensive views posted by readers in the site's comments section. The European Court of Human Rights found that Estonian court were within their rights to fine Delphi, one of the country's largest news websites, for comments made anonymously about a news article, according to a judgment. So I don't know how long this is in the EU. It's probably going to come here soon. What do you say?
Well, besides
sure I
it being
understand
totally
the issue.
insane,
Well,
we just how many parties down do you have to go? I mean, third party liability, fourth party, fifth party. I don't care now. As long as somebody in the tree, irrespective of how far away from the actual person that's committing the offence, as long as somebody in there could be deemed as possibly helping them or facilitating them, we'll do them too.
Well, thing is, somebody decided to sue, and apparently they were fined.
Yeah, it's amazing what a bit of bribery, sort of taking out for lunch. So I mean, donations can do, isn't it?
That's true. That part of the world, yeah, you're right. Very possible. Stop drooling over that new iPhone.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
Put away the fancy tablet. Because the real hardcore nerds find that stuff boring and mind-numbing, says Mary Lou Jepsen, head of the display division at Secretive R&D Lab Google X. At MIT's EMTech conference, Jepsen said the next generation of moonshot tech is much more exciting and interesting. That includes Google X projects like the driverless car, Project Loon, a stratospheric balloon-based wireless network, and Google Glass. But it's interesting. They find the new phones, the nerds, boring and mind-numbing. How many people are sleeping here? Everybody.
No, just give everybody a nudge and see if they jump. Is my audio okay, by the way? I'm coming through USB today.
Yes, and
It
you
is.
are a little bit on the high side, though. I had to lower everybody,
Oh,
but that's okay.
I-
It sounds fine.
That's unusual because it's USB, and normally USB through these microphones is slightly under, if anything.
Is that the new mic?
It is, yes. Maybe they've
That's why it's
adjusted
like
it.
that. Yeah, that's why. I had it charged up.
You put a new rubber band in, did you, before you sent it? Well, it needs to say thank you again for sending it. I appreciate
You're
it.
most welcome.
I'll stop saying it now. Shut up, Steve.
Way too many things.
It's weird actually because looking on the Windows volume control jobby, I'm barely registering one green bar, which is quite remarkable.
Yeah, you're almost to the red here.
It's amazing because if I was recording it locally, it would be, probably 10% of what everybody else is, volume level wise.
You sound good.
That's the main thing, I suppose.
Awesome.
I can't do it. I've got to. My voice is going very gruff as I'm getting older. I don't like it. I'm getting older. I'm getting stiffer. I'm getting slower, achy-fied, and my voice is going. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Other than that, how's your day?
Quite chilly over here, actually. It's about 52 out at the moment. It's quite chilly.
F or C?
That's C.
I don't think so.
Spence, are you
No,
still
sorry,
with us?
it's F. Beg your pardon.
Yeah. There you go.
Spence?
He's asleep.
Nick, are you still with us? Well, I know that Computer c2k voice is working because
Steve's on it.
Yes, I'm on it.
maybe Nick is installing software. That's all right. By the way, Nick also has a very interesting show on Friday night, right before the free-for-all. and it's called On the Radar at radargaming.net.
I don't do a cold call anymore, even though I've been thinking about possibly going back and doing one again, but I wouldn't know where to go to do it. I've lost touch with what's out there these days.
Mixler?
Yeah, it's a possibility. The only problem with that is you have to physically do a show rather than a call-in type thing, whereby it's less participation, more of a show, and I'd rather do a get-together, chatty type thing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with TalkShoe for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I suppose.
And if you wanted to do Blog Talk Radio, we can fix you up on that.
Yes, it's very kind of you to offer. Thank you.
All right. Is it time for our sermon?
No, I was just going to say I've recorded 2,241 episodes on TalkShoe.
Wow.
Wow, blimey, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All in 1 week.
No. Over the last 4 years.
So you could say that you're proficient at it now.
Yeah. It's I don't do anything live. I just do a local recording and create the episode. So I used to do
that's what I
some
miss
live.
is the live. It's easy to record, but I like the interactivity of having something live, because when you do make a mistake, it makes everyone realise that you are in fact a human and not a robot, and you have some fun times doing it when it's live, messing up.
Yeah. Yeah, the only reason I don't do it live is the nature of the podcast doesn't really lend itself to live experience. Yeah.
Who has been on TalkShoe lately?
I logged in about 3 weeks ago.
How long did you stay on? I mean, for a long time?
I'm just trying to think, because I actually streamed something to TalkShoe.
So are things different there now?
No. It seems to me, and Steve would be the one to know, it seems to me that the usage has gone down.
I've no idea. I haven't been to TalkShoe for months and months and months.
I've got nothing against TalkShoe. Steve and I theorize what's going on. He knows more than I do and can't talk about it, but my theory is that they're not making enough money to give it a lot of attention, and as a result, it works like a service that has not been given a lot of attention. I know that at one point, in fact, it's the time that I started playing with it a month or two ago, again, after all this time, the server was dead slow. It was crawling. In fact, you and I were talking about it, Bruce, because it was taking a while to click on a link and to get anything to pop up. I actually complained about it. I don't remember how, but Dave AC replied, "He's still there, Steve." And they were aware of it and went in and rebooted the servers or whatever and said that things should be back to normal. I tried it again. It was better, but not right, and I haven't tried it again since then. But it should work. I mean, if it's a telephone call, and in fact, Steve, the one thing that you could do if TalkShoe nor Blog Talk Radio existed, then you could use any of the free conference call services and bring them into your mixer with a Mix Minus and create the same type of service that you have with TalkShoe, and you can stream it in high quality. Your microphone would be high quality. Everyone else would be a telephone. I mean, that's in essence what we do on Carrie Psychic Cafe, because we use Blog Talk Radio as a telephone bridge. People on Blog Talk Radio can actually hear the show through their typical telephone quality. But going out over the air on Nissan Communications, then it's actually full quality with just telephones added in. So it works fine for that, and the interface works really, really well for that. You could do the same thing with TalkShoe. In fact, if I knew that they were going to be in business, there's an alternate plan I would put together that I'm not going to mention right now, that I think would make it work about as well, but not quite about as well as Blog Talk Radio for less money. But Anyway, that being said, if you use the tools for the right application, I'm not critical of them. I'm not critical of Blog Talk Radio for their terrible quality when you use them as a telephone bridge. That's what they are. They are, from what I understand, a modified asterisk VoIP server. And those servers require maintenance, they require bandwidth, they require resources. If they don't maintain those resources, then it is what it is.
Yeah,
What, Jason?
The thing with it is, in order to, people like to have anonymity online nowadays, and the concept that it gives you, that you can call a phone number or connect Skype or with SIP and do it anonymously, is beneficial to a lot of people, especially for some of the content of the calls that that they want to go on and discuss. So that the conferencing ability, the ability to connect in with a phone line, or indeed with Skype and what have you, it's something. Excuse me. That, I don't know. I need to win the lotto in order that I can put into place what I know would work and that would take off like a rocket. But yeah, it's just annoying that nobody else is doing it. Otherwise, I would just jump on it and use it.
Yeah.
Did Nick
Jason
said something about leaving?
Yeah, he said he was only going to be here for a short period of time.
Yeah, but I mean, did he?
He didn't say anything during the call that I've heard. But before Jason has a heart attack, he wants to know how my experience is with Linux Mint, and I will tell you that it was not good, because whenever I tried to boot it, it would not boot on the computer that I was trying to use, which was a Hewlett-Packard EliteBook 6930p, and it would not boot. It locked up on the startup part of the CD. So, at Mike Myers or somebody's recommendation, I downloaded Ubuntu, and I burned the CD, DVD, whichever it is on that one, booted, and it came up and worked just fine. And in fact, I was pretty shocked about how Apple-ish it is. It has all the check boxes in the wrong place on the wrong side of the screen, just like Apple does, and it totally made me reiterate to myself what I said on this show previously, in that I don't see why the school systems don't use it instead of using Apple's, because the hardware is cheaper, the software is free, the experience appears to be about the same. It just makes no sense to me. I think it's a very usable system, depending on which applications you need to run. In fact, I think I may have it over here. I may boot it over here.
When you say that it froze on booting up, did it get to the desktop part, or did it just freeze before it got there?
It froze before it got there.
Okay. Because what I find on with Linux or Ubuntu on mine, on my main desktop, it just gets to the point, and it's there and it's fine, and the mouse works, and I've got a Logitech mouse and a Logitech keyboard. They just stop working after a random anything between sort of 30 seconds and a couple of minutes. And the only way of getting them back working again is to restart the computer, which is infuriating.
I've now lost the DVD.
You lost what?
I've lost the CD.
It'll be in the drive, I expect, won't it?
Yeah. In the coffee cup holder.
I don't know what I did with it. Let me think about it a minute.
Well, good on you for trying it, at least, anyway.
I'm actually going to build a computer with it on there. I think it's useful.
Well, if you've got an old drive, is it a laptop machine or a desktop machine you're putting it on?
I've got 20 machines here. I'm debating on which one to do. Amnon, you remember that Atom processor-based computer that I have? We've got new that would not run Skype even though I wanted to.
Yep.
I'm thinking about making that into a Linux machine.
Well,
it's a brand new machine, 2 gig of memory, 1 terabyte hard drive, Atom 510 processor. It's brand new, never been used. I've got $175 in it, and it's just been sitting there for 2 years. So maybe I will try to run it on that.
Just blow the dust off first.
Oh, I actually take these things about every 6 months and power them up and do all the updates and so forth. But I've got at least 10 computers lined up here along the wall that I need to start getting rid of. It's been an interesting week with computers. I have had my fill of bad hard drives. By the way, if we haven't said it before, if your computer has a hard drive in it yet, go back it up, because I have had either 3 or 4 bad hard drives in the past 2 weeks. Not mine, thankfully. Not yet. And of those 4, 3 of them were nothing on the drive was recoverable. I've got one over there right now that SpinRite is running on. It's been running on it for 16 hours, and it's not past the 1% mark. If you look at it, you will see that it is, in fact, marking the sectors as unreadable. But I have no way of knowing whether it's going to get past this block of sectors on the drive and then move on, or whether it's going to mark the entire drive as unreadable. It says that remaining time is about 1,700 hours, which is based on the progress it's made over the recent period of time. So,
have fun with it.
Well, it's the drive. There's really not that much. You know what's so bizarre about it is that if I boot into, let me see which one it is. It would be Boot It Bare Metal from Terabyte Unlimited. If I boot into that and look at the content of the drive, I can see the files on the drive. But if I try to access it through Windows, it will not work. It will not see the files on the drive, which I understand that has to do with the FAT table and the master boot record and all that stuff. But it is what it is.
It'll be all right.
So, Amnon, you want me to do this sermon here?
If you think that it'll be funny.
Oh, sure. Okay. In ancient Israel, it came to pass that a trader by the name of Abraham Com did take unto himself a healthy wife by the name of Dorothy. And .com was a comely woman, large of breast, broad of shoulder, and long of leg. Indeed, she was often called Amazon.com. She said to Abraham, her husband, Why dost thou travel so far from town to town with thy goods, when thou canst trade without ever leaving thy tent? And Abraham did look at her as though she were several saddlebags short of a camel load, but simply said, How, dear? And Dot replied, I will place drums in all the towns and drums in between to send messages saying that you have what you have for sale. And they will reply telling you who hath the best price. The sale can be made on the drums and delivery made by Uriah's Pony Stable, UPS. Abraham thought long and decided he would let Dot have her way with the drums. And the drums rang out and were an immediate success. Abraham sold all the goods he had at the top price without ever having to move from his tent. To prevent neighboring countries from overhearing what the drums were saying, Dot devised a system that only she and the drummers knew. It was called Must Send Drum Over Sound, MSDOS. And she also had developed a language to transmit ideas and pictures, Hebrew to the people, HTTP. And the young men did take to .com's trading as doth the greedy horsefly take to camel dung. They were called nomadic, ecclesiastical, rich Dominican Sybarites, or nerds. And lo, the land was so feverish with joy at the new riches and the deafening sound of drums that no one noticed that the real riches were going to that enterprising drum dealer, Brother William of Gates, who bought off every drum maker in the land. Indeed, he did insist on drums to be made that would only work with Brother Gates' drumheads and drumsticks. And Dot did say, O Abraham, what we have started is being taken over by others. And Abraham looked out over the bay of Ezekiel, or eBay as it came to be known. He said, we need a name that reflects what we are. And Dot replied, Young, ambitious Hebrew owner-operators. Yahoo, said Abraham. And because it was Dot's idea, they named it Yahoo.com. Abraham's cousin Joshua, being the young, gregarious, energetic, educated kid, geek, G-E-E-K, that he was, soon started using Dot's drums to locate things around the countryside. It soon became known as God's own official guide to locating everything, Google. That, folks, is how it all began, and that is the truth.
Someone has too much time on his hands.
I mean, somebody sent it to me the other day.
Very cleverly written.
Yes.
Shall we pray?
Google.
Let's take an offering. What's your PayPal account? Speaking of technology, did you hear about the preacher that wired all the seats in his congregation? And on a given Sunday, he was preaching to raise funds, and he said, everybody that'll give $500, and he had a keyboard on the pulpit, where he could control this. Everybody that'll give $1,000 to the building fund, please stand up. And he'd punch a few buttons and shocked them. They stood up. Everybody that'll give $500 to the building fund, please stand up. And he'd punch a few more buttons. And he got it down, to $250, $100. Finally, he got it down to $10. Everybody who'll give $10 to the building fund, please stand up. And he punched all the buttons at one time and electrocuted 5 Scotsmen.
I didn't think that they think about the Scotsman like that here. I know in Europe they do.
I'm from Scotland County. And I can tell you the stereotype is true. We are cheap. Cheap.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here buying capacitors on eBay.
The joke was, how do you know you're flying over Scotland?
Yes.
You see toilet paper hanging on the laundry line to dry. I sure hope we don't have any Scots.
I think that's a slight exaggeration.
That are, yeah, I know.
Notice I said slight. I've known a few Scots in my time, and let's just say I don't ever remember knowing a Scot or knowing of a Scot that was the first one to the bar to buy a drink.
And that's fact, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've known some, generous Scots, but they need encouraging usually.
Now, Steve, have you ever been to OG Camp? I believe that's next week over there in England somewhere.
OG Camp?
OG, O-G-G, yeah. It's
I haven't.
It's a big Linux, annual gathering of people. George Doster, a friend of mine from Jacksonville, is going. He's actually flying into Scotland to meet up with a Scotsman who's an emergency room doctor and a great Linux user. And they're driving over for the OG Camp.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not really into Linux. I mean, I dabble with it and I've played around and I've got to the point where I want to throw it out the window, so I've stopped using it again. But no, I'm not into Linux enough.
But Mike's got the Unity interface running over there on the
I don't know which one it is. The good news is it comes preloaded with Amazon icon here. But I mean, if you go into, you can't see it very well, but for example, you go into Firefox. If you'll ever, see, it's taking so long because it's the live CD, and in the offline.
Oh, so you found the CD?
I did, and
it definitely looks like Ubuntu.
And it is, and it's interesting. It's very usable. I'm not sure why it's not.
I mean, there's an awful lot. If you're going to try Linux, it's a good thing if you've got some time spare and you're a little bit inclined to be inquisitive with computers and programming and that kind of stuff. And it is good fun. But the thing that gets me is I think as you get older, you become less patient and you like just to have things. Well, I like it because I like doing it like that, or like having that because I'm so used to doing these things, and I know that's the way it works. And you become familiar with things. So when you have to learn new things and you virtually jump through hoops in order to find, well, look, that's fair enough. Okay, I see there's a desktop there, but I've installed the program that I wanted to install. Now I'd like to make a shortcut, like I would do on Windows, of the program I've just installed, but put it over to there on the left. But I want it right at the top. How do I move it there? It's not intuitive in any way, shape, or form. Like I install Opera Browser. It drops over to the left-hand side and thinks, okay, it's over on the left now, but I'd like it up near the top because that's where I would, like to have it. And I couldn't for the life of me initially fathom out how on earth do you move it from the bottom right up to the top where you actually want it to be. It's like too confusing, so I just turn it off again.
Well, I went to Computers 2K now, and of course it's not playing because the Flash plugin is not installed in Firefox by default.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, here's my Linux show and tell on my Chromebook.
And which distro is that's their own? You said, I think.
Well, it's Ubuntu, but I'm running XFCE instead of the Unity. XFCE is a lot leaner to run on a device like a Chromebook.
Well, wouldn't it also be better to run it on a laptop that's not very powerful? Or is it actually for Chrome OS?
No,
I mean for the Chrome, that's an ARM, isn't it?
Right, it's an ARM processor. But the beauty of having the Chromebook is having a Chromebook. It's light, it's fast. Why do I want to, put it on a laptop when I can run it on my Chromebook?
I mean, Jason, what is the lightest Linux distro?
There's one called Puppy Linux.
Which one?
Puppy Linux is pretty light, as I understand.
For the benefit of the users that don't come and watch this live, they're watching it after the fact. You really are missing things here. If you would come to computers2know.com/live, you'll be able to see the chat that some people are chatting and typing things in. And here's one prime example of where you should want to come because you miss little gems like this that Dirtbag typed in. Linux is user-friendly. It's just more selective about who its friends are. So you miss things like that if you don't come and look at the chat.
Well,
thank you, Dirtbag.
Yes.
Well, this thing is still looking for the plugin finder service too. So
they've been shut down.
What has been shut down?
That service.
The government.
The government shut.
The government's closed it down.
But this, again, and just being very candid, this is frustration. You try to use something, and it doesn't work. Windows Update, you don't have it? Or you click on Windows?
Oh, come on. Yes, you do.
All right, well, show me. Tell me, what do I need to click on, Amnon?
No. I'm saying Windows Updates does have its...
and everything has problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, Windows Update on Ubuntu does not work at all. Absolutely right.
But tell me right now what to do here. I'm open-minded. By the way, I have good news to report. You'll be happy to hear this. My Apple MacBook that I gave to my son is proving to be useful. He actually downloaded the same word processing software that the rest of the broke school district is using, and he's able now to do his work and exchange files with the rest of the school system without having to go through conversion issues. So the good news is that it did turn out to be useful.
Oh, good.
Cool. I thought you were going to say something like it's just the perfect height to wedge under the door to stop it from closing.
No, it's not tall enough for that.
Darn it.
My experience in running Linux off of USB or a live CD like that is a lot of the stuff that you download and the stuff that you do and set up is not saved.
Correct. But maybe that's part of the problem here. I don't know that, but I'm sincere when I say, what do I click on to solve this problem? I want to download Flash for Firefox on this live CD. What do I do, Jason?
Go to adobe.com and let the website report to you which version you need.
So cancel this.
The unfortunate thing is it won't save it, or it'll save it and run on the machine now, but it won't.
Understand.
Yeah. What you could do, what I've done in the past, Mike, is I've got a thumb drive, a little memory stick thumb drive, and then I've installed to USB. If you've got a USB 3 on that machine, install it to a USB 3 thumb drive, and you can also then install browsers and software and bits and pieces on the thumb drive, and makes it actually a live USB thumb drive, which allows you to save and download and stuff like that, which is very useful.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't have USB 3, but it'll work with USB 2 also.
Yeah, not as
slower,
fast, obviously, but it does allow you to get things like browsers and your bookmarks and things like that, and Flash and other bits and pieces installed on the thumb drive. So you could virtually plug it into any computer and boot from it if it's got USB bootable. Yeah. And it makes it a lot more flexible than, obviously, and then faster as well than booting off of a CD drive.
You were saying, Mike?
I was saying that, so I click on Get Adobe Flash Player. It recognizes that it's Linux, 64-bit, and it asks me which version I want to download. Whether I want yum for Linux, .tar.gz for other Linux, or .rpm for other Linux. I don't have a clue. I have no idea.
Dirtbag's typed in there a string that you can copy and paste into it.
Yeah, he's talking dirty. I mean, this is what we were talking about. I'm not the average computer user, but I'm a Linux idiot, and if I've got to type all this stuff in here to get it to work, I'm just going to stick with Windows if I'm not a techie.
Can you not just go to the software center? I can't remember what it's called now, but if you go to the software center and type in Flash plugin, does that not give you the option of downloading it via the software installer?
I don't know. How do I get to a terminal on this program? I'm looking. Just be patient.
On the left-hand side, there should be software library, or I can't remember what it's called now. It's so long ago that was on it. Software center or something right now on the left-hand side.
I don't know. I'm looking. Carry on. There's trash. There's the hard drive. System settings would be there.
Nope. Keep going.
And then we have Ubuntu One Music. And actually, it may be here. Ubuntu Privacy, Online Language, Keyboard, Brightness, Appearance.
No, it's over on the left-hand side where all the little icons are on the left.
Yes, then it's Ubuntu One, Ubuntu Software Center. Would that be it?
That's the one. That's the one. Then just type in search box Flash plugin.
Well, let's get a search box first.
Of course, you're on the
this
live
looks like an
CD,
apple. Okay, our star apps. And type Flash in the search box.
Yeah.
Should I spell it correctly?
Always a good idea, actually,
Okay.
yes.
First one pops up is Adobe Flash plugin.
Awesome, that's the one that you'd want.
So I click on it. Actually, I double click on it. Installer.
Mm-hmm.
Use this source. Shows something happening.
See, the disadvantage to it is it's not going to save it, so you put the live CD again and it's gone. But I would certainly look into
I don't hold the architecture of the system against the system. That's to be expected.
Mm-hmm. But if you're intent on giving it a more of a thorough go through in respect of trying to adapt yourself to using Linux, then it would be worth doing a USB thumb drive, I think.
Well, no. If I were going to use it, I would absolutely install it on a hard drive. I'm anxious to actually see how it performs on a hard drive.
Okay.
In fact, it would be fascinating to see it on an SSD.
Did it find the drivers that you were looking for?
We don't know yet. We're going to find out here shortly.
On an SSD, I did try it on my older system, which is a dual-core processor. Extremely fast. I was very surprised, actually, on on an SSD.
Guess what?
What?
We have liftoff.
It's working.
That's just awesome.
There's only about a 3-second delay on Bamboozer. Listen to this.
Pretty good.
That is awesome.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
It is. I probably ought to hit mute, hadn't I? Okay. I got to tell you, Jason, so far I'm pretty happy. I like this. I can get over
and
the
it's free.
Mac smell. Feel.
Mike, and does the page look the same?
Yes.
Good. Very
Now,
nice.
for some reason, PHP chat is not working.
At all?
No.
Did you log in?
It's not letting me do anything.
Do you see yourself on the right part of the window?
No. It's nothing is happening. No.
But it
How do you
should
go
Enter
into-
your nickname.
But it's an open window. It already
It's the only
asks.
one that's.
Go ahead.
I say Firefox is the only one that's installed in browser, isn't it?
It's the only one I see.
Okay.
Did it work? Can you type something?
No. I mean, I'm sitting here typing into chat and nothing is showing up.
But what about if you type on the laptop?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Have you
It
tried?
works on my desktop.
Have you tried refreshing that page to see if that makes?
Well, no, I haven't. I will.
Or try the chat pop out. Either that might.
That might be a good thing to try. That's sort of a refresh, isn't it? So this would be Mike Linux. Aha, there we go.
There you go.
yep.
Well,
that
there.
worked.
But you're really
All right.
excited now. You've actually made progress.
I got to tell you guys, I like this. I like this.
Now you can do the same software search for Audacity and VLC and other programs that you like and love. Skype.
I
The
do have a
Software
good
Center
question
is
here.
really good.
Well, I have a question here. What do you do? And this is probably a Jason question. Although, if you know the answer, feel free to chime in and answer at your leisure. What happens when you run into an installation where a driver is missing?
I have yet to run into a driver issue with Linux on my Chromebook.
But that was designed for Linux, though, right?
Well, Chrome OS
Yeah.
is Linux at its core, but from what I understand with other people, there are very few drivers. I mean, what I've plugged in so far is a Logitech wireless USB headset. I've plugged in 3 Logitech cameras without issue. I've plugged in my Behringer 302 USB without issue. So everything that I've tried to feed it so far has not been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, why don't you call in? Skype in, call in. Something.
I had some annoying things to get through with NVIDIA this week. Well, actually, no, it wasn't NVIDIA. It was Microsoft NVIDIA drivers. My network card on my main PC is NVIDIA. And for some reason, it just kept stalling on the network. And I, what on earth's going on? So I kept rebooting, and then it would come up and it would show a red X on the little computer symbol for the network. And I was tried all sorts of different things trying to get rid of it. And finally, in the end, I uninstalled the network card, which got to run an NVIDIA installer, which seemed a bit weird, I thought. Anyway, on reboot, it seems to have fixed it now. So it's if I put the NVIDIA drivers on instead of the Microsoft drivers, and that has sorted out the problem.
Hello,
Very
Jason.
frustrating for some time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you mean Skype doesn't work on Linux?
Oh, yeah, that stuff doesn't work on Linux. I can't call in.
Well, I'm sitting here at Skype.com. They offer downloads for it.
Yeah, I'm talking to you guys obviously on Skype, but yeah, I'm running on my Fedora box.
On your what
32 or
box?
64-bit.
Fedora,
Oh, Fedora.
yeah,
Bless you.
on my SSD drive.
32 or
Smoking fast.
64-bit.
You're just
I-
showing
I-
off now.
I still run 32-bit. I see no reason to run 64-bit unless you've got a lot of memory on a server. If you're running desktop, I would stick with 32-bit.
It's always safer to stay with 32-bit.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, I've got
Now,
the 302 mixer as well.
You would run the 32-bit version of Skype on an ARM 64 bit processor on the of course I can't run Skype on Linux on the Chromebook because it's not been compiled for ARM. So that's a dumb question.
The ARM. Yeah. I'm not familiar with running it on ARM yet.
I'll tell you what I have enjoyed on my enjoyed on the Chromebook though is IM Plus. Now I can't do video or audio calls, but I can Skype chat.
Yeah, that's what I use on my Android is the IM Plus.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us what it is.
It's an instant messenger client that does Yahoo and Jabber and AOL and everything else, Skype, Facebook. It does all the chats in one client.
Oh, okay. That's what I used to use a program that did that. I can't remember the name of it at the moment.
Trillion, probably.
No, that one worked well early, and then they got creative with it, and it was so bloated, it was terrible. That was 7-8 years ago.
Yeah,
but
it might have been what the heck was Pigeon before it became Pigeon?
Yes, Pigeon.
Oh, that was the old one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, you were saying something? Yes, no.
I was going to say they're talking about the Behringer 302 mixer. I use that one, and it as an external sound card on its own, let alone the fact that it's got mixing capabilities. It is a wonderful bit of kit for the price. The way to kill the conversation, Steve. Oh, well, I agree with you, Bruce. I don't care what anyone says. I agree with you.
Yeah, well, I'm a little distracted here, but...
But you were asking about the drivers.
Well, right now I'm asking about Skype, because one of the options is Ubuntu 12.04 multi-arch. What's multi-arch?
Oh, I'm sorry. What about Skype? You're trying to...
Well, I'm just at Skype.com, and just out of curiosity, as if I were going to install it, which would be essential for me to use the desktop version.
Right.
And I went to Ubuntu as the distribution that I'm supposedly using. It's 12.04. I think I'm probably using 13.04. But it says multi-arch, which I assume means multi-architecture.
Yeah.
But I tried that. And it says open with Ubuntu Software Center, and once it does that, it brings it up and says, error, you're wrong architecture, i386.
Okay, so is your installed did you install the 64-bit or the 32-bit one? Do you remember?
I haven't installed either one. I'm running from a live CD, and it's the 64.
Oh, it's the 64. Okay. Good question. I haven't. Skip.com. Let's see what you got. Downloads. Computer for Linux. Choose your distro. Okay, you chose the Ubuntu 12.04 multi-arch.
Yep.
Arch. Let me download and see what the heck that is. I've never seen that before, to be honest.
And it's got Ubuntu 10.04 32-bit, Debian 7.0. Does multi-arch, isn't that supposed to mean 32 and 64?
I would assume so, but I've never seen it before. I'm not sure what it'll actually, download to install.
Or maybe that means AMD and Intel. I don't know.
4, 3, 2, 1. Let me see what the heck it is.
I hope we aren't boring everybody to death with this. I think it's
really.
An interesting topic.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the topic we're talking about, then all you have to do is call 919-518-9773. That number again, 919-518-9773, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Operators are standing by.
We'd just like to add a caveat to that, within reason. As we know, there are some very strange people out there on the net, so not necessarily precisely what you want to talk about, but maybe a derivative of it.
Indeed. Okay, so it's a Skype Ubuntu Precise 402.11.1. Is that what you got, Mike?
I don't know. It wouldn't run.
Oh, you didn't. Okay, yeah. But anyway, it looks like it's an i386.eeb.
Translate that into what that means to me.
Oh, i386. That's the 32-bit label for the architecture, the 32-bit, would be i386. If it was an x86 64, that typically means a 64-bit. That's just how they labeled the packages usually.
To answer your question earlier, the only objection that I have to running 32-bit operating system is that you are limited to 3.2 gigabyte by the operating system.
Not necessarily.
Okay,
There is.
Explain.
Okay, so there is. Okay, so for Linux, the 32-bit architecture typically all you could address was 4 gig of memory, or actually a little bit less than 4 gig. But in Linux, what they did before the 64-bit hardware, a few years ago, before it got as common as it is now, there was a kernel called the PAE kernel, which I know you're going to ask me what the heck PAE is, but let me look it up real quick. Physical address extension. So basically what they did is they did some voodoo in the software to remap the memory so that the operating system can recognize more than 4 gig of memory in the software. So you didn't have to have 64-bit hardware and kernel to address more than 4 gig of memory. And it was a band-aid, but it still works fine for up to, I can't remember, I think it works up to like 16 gig of memory. And then if you want to address more than that, then you absolutely have to run 64-bit kernel. But if you do a search in your software center for kernels, you'll probably see one that says like kernel, or kernel, I don't know what version you're running, but you'll see one that has a PAE at the end for physical address extension. If you install that one and boot up that kernel, that one will allow you to address more than 4 gig of memory on your 32-bit box.
But we're back to my frustration. Do you think the average Mac user is going to go to this trouble?
Absolutely. No, probably not. They'll have to suffer.
So. And
they'll have to suffer and run. They're, with the crippled amount of memory by default.
Well, I mean, very few of my computers have more than 3 gig in them. My i7s have 16. So in and of itself, it's not a problem, and certainly for testing, it's not a problem.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is 4 gig of memory for doing audio, video, things like that is not an unrealistic number, because if you monitor your use of that memory, at least in Windows, which is what I use, you can see in excess of 50% of memory in use at any moment in time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my frustration. Again, I'm going to play with it and see to see how it pans out, and I'll try the Ubuntu 32-bit and see if I can get Skype and all that to work, because it works fine on yours, right, Bruce?
You talking about Skype?
Yes.
No, I can't run Skype on my Linux install on Chromebook because it's an ARM processor, and Skype hasn't been compiled for an ARM processor.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different issue. But yeah, I've used Skype, video and audio, and it works like a champ.
Yeah, people, we're talking about these new Chromebooks in the chat, and obviously some new Chromebooks been announced this week. HP came out with an 11-inch Chromebook. The thing I don't like about the new HP, and this is still the ARM processor in that, is it doesn't have an SD slot. It doesn't have an HDMI out. And it has 2 USB ports, but both 2.0. My Samsung Series 3 has an SD slot, HDMI out, and one 2.0 and one 3.0 USB slot. The new Acer that was just announced a couple days ago has a new Haswell processor. It's an 11.6-inch Chromebook. Has the Haswell processor, 16 gigabyte SSD card, 4 gigabytes of RAM. And if you were interested in a Chromebook, that's selling for $250. That would be the Chromebook that I would get right now, unless you want to wait for some of the newer 14-inch ones that are coming out with Haswell processors.
Ooh.
What's the screen size of the 250 version?
11.6.
Okay.
It's the C270, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
But it has the Haswell processor, so if you installed Ubuntu Linux on that, you could run all of your Intel-based Linux programs like the one you're installing right now. And that with the Haswell processor, the battery life is rated at just over 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I love the offline apps that Doug is speaking about too. Yeah, Workflow is one of many. Pixel is a great offline photo editor now that you can use on a Chromebook. There's offline versions of Gmail, Google Docs, Google Spreadsheet, Google Slides. A lot of offline options now for the Chromebook.
Well, I'm going to play with it some more. I mean, I don't mind a little bit of transition here. I have two areas of interest. One is to assess how likely it is that the quote-unquote average user is going to make the jump to Ubuntu desktop or Linux desktop. So far, unless you can live with what happens when you originally boot without any updates or additions, so far the experience has not been favorable to suggest that the Susie housewife is going to go get Linux, install it, and be happy and life is good. However, I'm real curious, just from a techie perspective, to see where it is now, to see how quickly it works side by side with the same sort of hardware, same sort of memory availability, not running it off a live CD. I mean, I'm very interested in seeing that. Well, now you just made an interesting point, Bruce. You say that Skype has not been compiled for ARM processor, and this Intel motherboard I have over here on this computer I never use is an ARM processor. No, it's not. Or is it?
No.
The D510M0 motherboard. I have to look that up. I don't remember now. It's been so long. The E510M0 or MO, I don't remember. What was strange is the reason I bought it is because Leo was using the model beneath it for his Skypezilla complex. So I thought it would be a good one to use. The updated version which was all that was available, would be fine. And unfortunately, Skype will not operate at full speed. It says the processor can't handle it. D510M0. Let's see what this says. Intel is designed. Oh, the Atom processor, not that. That's correct.
Yeah.
Atom. Yeah, that's still x86.
But we'll see if it works. I mean, if it does, it'd be nice to have that little box sitting over there to play with. It doesn't hurt anything. I'm probably going to end up using it to I hadn't even thought about it, but that might be a solution to a problem I'm looking for. I might be able to use it to let SpinRite run for 3 weeks on all these hard drives I'm trying to access. At least it'll be lower power. I'll tell you, I did have another computer problem, for what it's worth, earlier, about 2-3 days ago. May have been yesterday. I don't know that I've been so busy, but I know I have a computer here. I've mentioned it before. I have a computer here that I call server that is an XP box, has 6 or 7 hard drives installed. Various folders on those drives are shared so that I can have a system here where I can maintain a collection of files like you would normally do on a server. Anyway, I noticed that a week ago the computer started shutting down, thinking that it was happening when I was away. That might be a power flicker. I went into the BIOS and set the BIOS such that after a power interruption, the computer turns back on automatically. It's always on.
Right.
I did that, and I came back and noticed that it was still shut down. I powered it up and watched it for a while, and it would shut down. I said, got to be heat related. I then took it apart, looked inside, and found 2 things. First is that the heatsink was completely clogged with dust. I took the heatsink off, went outside, took my air compressor, blew the air out of it, got all the dust out of it, made sure that the thermal compound on the heatsink, between the heatsink and the processor, made sure that was good, and it was. And I mean, it was really working well. It was the Arctic Silver stuff I really liked. And in putting that back in, I noticed a bulging capacitor on this 2-year-old motherboard. So I've got to now, at some point, take the motherboard out and replace that capacitor. Thankfully, it's still working for now, but who knows how long that's going to be the case.
Nothing's built to last anymore, is it?
Well, the reason that's interesting to me, Steve, is this bulging cap problem was supposed to have disappeared 5 years ago. Because what happened was, as it was reported to me, and you can do some research on it, that the bulging capacitor issue was a result, theoretically, of someone actually stealing trade secrets from a company that manufactures the chemical for the electrolyte in the electrolytic capacitors. When they stole the formula and started manufacturing this chemical, unfortunately, when they stole it, they didn't get it right. They manufactured a defective electrolyte. They sold it to the various capacitor manufacturers, unbeknownst to them. I mean, if you're in the manufacturing business and there are only 3 or 4 companies manufacturing a chemical that you use, they all 4 have an equivalent reputation for delivering a quality product, you're going to buy the cheapest one. So this company comes in, apparently, with this cheap product. The companies buy it, and it turns out the product's defective, and they end up with bulging caps. What blows my mind is that I was dealing with the bulging cap issue back in the Pentium 3 days. I had some IBM, not Lenovo, but IBM desktop computers with bulging caps. I took the motherboards out of them, sent the motherboards to a guy out in Oklahoma or somewhere for $50 a piece. He was replacing every cap on the board, sending it back, postage paid. At that time, it was a steal because these computers used were $300 a piece. And all 3 of my 6579 A4U IBM computers had bulging caps on them. He replaced them, and all of them are still working to this day. In fact, one's still in use. But that being said, I don't see how the problem lingers from 10 years ago. That's what I'm getting to.
Electronics.
Ralston wants to know if we could talk about audio delay when trying to deal with people calling into the show using Skype. Can they hear your broadcast without any delay? We're setting up a small broadcast station at school and are looking for a video audio mixer that we can call into from Skype and are broadcast on the web. Well, I'm not Anon, but I'll take a shot at it. And guys,
you are the one to talk about that.
Well, yes and no, the video part of it. Let's tell you how we're doing it here very briefly. I am calling into Amnon over Skype, just as Jason, Bruce, everyone is calling into Amnon on Skype. The video people, and John says audio is cutting out. Is my audio cutting out to you guys?
No.
No.
Not to me, no.
Nope.
Okay. Oh, it's on John's side. All right, so anyway, we're calling in, and Bruce and I are on the video channel, which is the Computers 2K Now channel. Our audio is coming out of Skype and going into the Amnon's mixer, which is a Behringer 2442. Then we have, as far as when you hear voice only, that would be Steve, that would be Jason. They're called in on Computers 2K Voice. It's a second computer. They're calling in on Skype. Their audio comes out of that computer and goes into a second channel on the mixer. Amnon can adjust the levels of the voice only versus the voice plus the video separately. They're on separate channels. As far as the lag in Skype, there is very little lag. It's typically less than 200 milliseconds, which for most people is for most people, they can't tell it. For the rest, it's just not a problem. Your cell phone has at least that much latency built into it in most circumstances. Whenever Bruce talks or Jason or Steve talks, I hear them coming back to me through Skype using a mix-minus feed. Amnon has auxiliary sends on that mixer where he is sending Jason's, Steve's, and in fact, Bruce's audio. Actually, I have to think about that one, whether I'm getting it through Skype directly or whether I'm getting it back from Amnon. But anyway, I think I'm getting it through Skype. But anyway, that audio being fed back to us is how we hear it. So there's really very little to no lag on any of the audio that we're getting back through Skype. if we were to turn up, maybe I'll do this. Maybe this is the question that you're asking. If I go over here to Computers 2K Now on the computer, then I go over here to click on Watch Live, you're going to hear this horrible echo pop up. Let's see if there's a pre-roll commercial.
See, this is what I tuned in for. I love good echo.
No doubt.
And the lag that they will hear now will and the lag that they will hear now will only grow longer. They will hear now will only grow longer. They will hear now.
To give you an example, let's just if I do it from Europe, because somebody was saying in the chat there that people in Europe report a long audio lag. It isn't really that bad in comparison. You would think all these thousands of miles away that the lag would be unbearable. But as long as you refresh occasionally on the web to get the lips more or less in sync, I mean, you only want half a second where the audio and the lip sync is out, to completely numb your mind on a Sunday. And the lip sync is out, to completely numb your mind on a Sunday.
So the point being that you should not be using the audio from, you should not even be listening to the audio from the stream. Every stream from the time it leaves the studio, and that is that once the audio leaves the mixer at Amnon's, it goes into VidBlaster. VidBlaster streams it to Bamboozer. There is a lag or a latency between the time it leaves Amnon Studio and the time it gets to the desktop computer. I don't know if any of that has to do with what you're asking, but the issue is that if there is a latency or a lag, it sounds like you might be using the audio from the online or the broadcast, and you never use that. We don't. In fact, I don't even. As you see, I had to start up the web browser to bring in Computers 2K Now, because I don't even monitor the video or audio that we're streaming out over the air, because we're getting our cues back by audio from Amnon on Skype and through Skype group with Bruce.
Yeah, if you're going to stream video and audio, you just have to get used to a certain amount of latency and lag. I know, like if you're streaming live to YouTube Live, it's about 40 seconds, 35, 40 seconds. And so you just have to keep that in mind if you're using the Question app, or if you're monitoring YouTube comments. You're talking about something and they ask you a question, it's going to be related to something you said 30, 35 seconds ago. But you can get around that and manage it fairly well.
Yeah, the main problem actually with all this audio is when you get a call in from somebody, right, and they've been watching. I mean, there is a long delay, a longer delay on if you're watching in the browser, and when you call in, whether it's on phone or Skype, at that point you should turn down the volume on the browser or walk away from the computer and only use your phone. But if you're doing it with Skype, then turn down the volume in the browser and listen to what's coming to you on Skype. Otherwise, it's a real mess. It's just like on radio. When you pick up, when you call in, you hear yourself and you don't know when to start talking. But what Mike said and what Bruce said about how it's working, yep, that's how it's working, and I'm doing it all by myself, don't I?
All by myself.
You're amazing.
Half of what Mike just talked about went right over my head.
It did not.
Well, kind of.
Everything I just said.
I know, yeah, to a point.
You have no idea what you're doing, but you know why you're doing it, Amnon.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good explanation.
Yeah.
So, Ralston, where are you doing a broadcast anywhere?
Tell us what you're doing. You can call in if you like.
Yeah, why don't you call in? We can test it, and you can see how it works, actually.
Yeah, well, you've got Skype. We know that. So,
You can either call in
English.
if you're in the States, 919-518-9773, or Computers 2K Voice on Skype. Feel free to. It'll be nice to see it.
If you call in on Skype, you can get an idea of what it sounds like to a caller to call into a show, and you will see that there is no lag or latency or delay.
And I think John explained that the people who are complaining about the lag in Europe, it's on Tom's show. And I don't know why, but Tom has, I don't know what's his situation, but he does have, I heard that before, and he's got 12 up with Comcast. You know, I mean,
Lag
that's
from where, though?
From Europe.
But what do you mean?
People that watch it in Europe, like Steve would be doing now, are complaining that there's a big lag, that it's not synced, I guess.
Okay, what's his CDN that he's streaming to?
That's what I'm
wondering. The Cast.
Okay, see, so you're streaming using Bamboozer, whose servers are in Europe.
Are in Europe.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean...
You know what? I hadn't thought about it, Amnon, but this very low latency with Bamboozer, what is it, about 3 seconds?
Unbelievable, yeah.
You know what that means? That means that their new policies have freed up some resources on their servers.
I was going to mention that, yep. No, I noticed that from day one when starting FMLE, and I'm monitoring on the laptop that's actually connected to the T1, which is 2 different networks. It's not Time Warner, it's the T1 here. And it used to take about 30 seconds or 45 seconds before it was actually getting and telling me it's live. That's why you'll notice that our intros on all our shows are long. It's to allow time for everybody to get the actual live broadcast to their computer. Now it happens after about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and I see it. Oh, it's live. So yes, their policies are working for sure. And I gotta add, they are so on the ball. I forgot to add the show that Julie does, the Thrive, the workshop that she does once a month. And I sent him an email. I said, guys, how do I add something to my account? I forgot about one, and I told him what it is. 10 minutes later, I got an email saying, okay, it's added. And Bruce, did I tell you about the hours?
No. Oh yeah, 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they
blew that.
No, they actually. I mean, I asked them. I said, guys, I looked at the stats, and in 1 month, I will be doing about 1,700 hours. So what happens? He said, it's really, we don't look at that. We're not going to charge you any overage or anything. But if you feel better, take a look at it now. And he put 10,000. So it's meaningless. He said it's just something that we have to put something in there when we set up an account. So don't worry about it, Bruce.
Yeah. It's like Time Warner. We don't really have a 250 gigabyte cap, but if we were going to have one, that's the number you would need to get used to.
Yeah, and it's, when you think about it, how are they going to charge you? What are they going to do? They don't have a credit card.
You're not going to go over, but
I'm just saying. It made sense.
Yeah, when I was at the home office last week, one of the churches that I consulted with and got set up, the pastor's name was Jerry Lawrence, and he was sharing with me about what happened with them 2 weeks ago on Sunday morning. And I explained to him the situation and told him about how cooperative Bamboozer was in working with a program for small churches who wanted to do internet streaming, and so he's working with them on that. So
I don't know why they don't want to work with Alan. I have no idea.
Well, it's not that they didn't work with him at all. I think they just didn't get it down low enough for him, evidently. I know he's using Decast right now, if you go to his website.
Yeah, but you see, again, I don't understand why he's not using a free one. I mean, he's doing stuff for free there.
Mm-hmm.
There's Daily Motion, there is Vaughn, the cast is not expensive. It's fine.
There's a question in chat, probably best answered by you, Mike.
Yeah, we did yesterday.
Yeah, the question is whether we have played with WebRTC, and in fact we did. Didn't you send us the link, Bruce? No, who sent us? Oh no, it was Tom who sent us the link.
Mm-hmm.
And Amnon and I played with it. I forget what it is, but what it does is you go to a website that then installs or configures your webcam and microphone settings for you and allows you to broadcast, to connect. We without knowing anything about it, we just tried it just cold, and initially we had trouble connecting with each other. Amnon connect, and then I couldn't connect, and I couldn't connect, and he'd connect, and all of a sudden it started connecting just fine. After he and I connected, he was on a slower computer. He had to switch to a faster
I
computer.
was on the 486 3 gigahertz.
Ooh.
Which
Right.
is not
That
which is
doesn't
not
work.
fast. It's just not 486. What am I saying?
I was going to say
P4,
Pentium 4.
P4,
Yeah.
486.
Okay.
A P4.
I was drawing a blank.
Yeah,
there
I
for a
know.
second.
I'm saying something sounded wrong. P4, 3
Not good.
gigahertz, which is my machine that I do all my work on, and it
Right.
was eating 100%, and the audio was choppy is not a word. I mean, it was every other syllable was not there. So I switched to the one that I do the Hangouts on, which is a dual core, 1.8 something like that laptop, and audio was fine, video was fine, everything was great, but it was still eating 100% of the CPU.
And I was doing it on an i7, and it was at about 5%.
Yeah. So when I use Skype on that machine, it's about 60%. So
And-
it eats a lot of resources for some reason. And again, it's just in the early stages, right, Mike?
Well, yeah. I mean, it is. And John posted the link in chat for an article that says Microsoft pushes ahead with its own take on WebRTC. Now, as Amnon may disagree, but I thought that once we finally got it up and working, I do think it was, at least for the older computer, somewhat of a bandwidth hog. Now, I'm not saying that's a criticism, because it may have been sending greater quality bandwidth than Amnon was providing to it. It may be that it was very efficiently doing what it was doing. But it was not as good as Skype. The audio was not as good as Skype. But I said to Amnon at the time yesterday that if Skype for some reason mysteriously disappeared, it would be usable to do this show. It's better than a Google Hangout, but I did not think it was as good or user friendly as Skype. We could not determine whether we could add a third person to it, because Amnon was playing around trying to join into the conference with a second computer at his location, and he kept getting that the room or the call was full. But I think we're dealing with this particular one, and I forget what the name of it is now. But probably should have bookmarked it, Amnon, so we know what we're dealing with. But we can go back through the history and figure out which one it was.
Yeah, and the other problem with it that we couldn't figure out is it was after Mike and me were in there, it said that the room was full.
Right.
So I don't know if there was something else that needed to be configured to have more than one person. Go ahead.
Currently, the best alternative to Skype is clearly Zoom, both as to CPU usage, resources, audio, and video quality. Right now, it remains to be seen, what WebRTC is going to be able to provide. But man, I mean, Zoom is just
the
really
only
great.
thing that I can see that is going to be really good with WebRTC, and that's according to Tom show, is that you're going to be able to bring it in as a module instead of screen capture. That's going to be fantastic. Because then you can just have modules with cameras in them. It's sort of like an IP camera.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I can see. And before knowing what type of resources it's going to take, there's no way to tell. But yeah, Zoom.
So now we're going to replay the VCR Sony Betamax deal between Microsoft's proprietary version of WebRTC and Google's version of WebRTC. I mean, this is nonsense. I mean, get together.
The world's going mad.
And they
get
will
together and make something for the benefit of mankind. When was that Alien?
They will end up together. I'll bet you. I mean, it always ends up to be.
Yep.
One of them is the winner, and the other one just either goes away or merges into it.
How many of you have Silverlight installed on the PC you're currently
I don't.
on?
No,
I do.
Okay.
I did and took it off.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Well, I mean, obviously there are some sites. The only reason I have Silverlight on here is I can't remember which site it is, but there was a particular site where I had to have Silverlight in order to be able to watch the video.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be the Olympics. I don't know if there's something now. Ralston, why don't you call in? But Mike,
No, he's on vacation. He's on holiday. He's not going to call in. He mentioned that earlier in the chat.
oh, okay. So, Mike,
Yeah.
did you see the question about liable?
I did not. I'm looking
It's
for something else. What are we
sort of like
looking
at the top of the screen. It's beginning
Yeah.
to
His
scroll
question
over.
was, how does liable work on the internet? If a guest calls in and says something that liables someone, would the station be covered from a third-party guest calling in? We want to have an open session when we are up and running.
Well,
Would be the
I'm not gonna give you-
DMCA type thing, wouldn't it?
I'm not gonna give you free legal advice because I'm not going to give you any legal advice at all. But I will tell you that if the host were ultimately liable for everything a guest said, there would be no talk radio, there would be no talk shows. You will often see a disclaimer that the opinions of the guests are not necessarily the opinions of the host. Opinions
or
are
the
protected.
station. The station.
Yeah, I mean, in the United States, at least for now, there is still some modicum of free speech left. And, I mean, the question can get really complicated. If you let somebody go on and just rail and rail and rail and you jump in and agree with them and all that, I guess at some point the opinion could, or the slander could be attributed to you, but that seems a long, long stretch to me. And furthermore, I can't imagine somebody slandering another person would be very good content to be broadcasting anyway.
Right.
Because even if it's true, a lot of people just don't want to hear it.
Well, speaking about free speech, did you hear about H.R. 347?
I did not.
Okay. There are now no free speech zones. H.R. 347, just signed without fanfare or news coverage this past week by Barack Obama, makes it illegal to protest anywhere the Secret Service is present. Who is present everywhere that Barack Obama goes? That's right, the Secret Service. Ergo, it is illegal to protest Barack Obama. Well, there goes the First Amendment. Now, I'm reading this from a Snopes site, and they're reporting this as a mixture. At first, they were reporting that it was not true. But this was passed by both sides of the House, both Democrats and Republicans. And but it's interesting. If you Google it, you'll find some videos on it. Fox News had a report on it with their constitutional experts. I'll put the link to that YouTube video in the chat if you're interested. But it's kind of interesting.
The Constitution is becoming more like a sieve every day, isn't it?
Yeah, but see, I looked at that a year or two ago when that first hit, and I saw it whenever Snopes is a bunch of lefties anyway, but it's a guy and his wife, and they did have that as being false, and now they're coming back and reassessing it. But the reality is, and without me, and I am not saying this having reviewed this, I do not know what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you a blanket opinion that any activities that threaten the safety and security of the president and his entourage should be controllable by the government. And that is that if you can express yourself and have free speech, but if you're going to do it in a way that makes it difficult to protect the president and his entourage, or her entourage, God forbid, then look, I have to support that, and it's a bipartisan issue. The danger is, at what point, who gets to draw the line? If someone, if you get to scream out in support of the president, that's not a threat. And if you disagree, that is a threat. That's where the danger is. That's the slippery slope. In that somebody asked me one time, well, I won't go into all that, but it's the question is who gets to decide and at what level. Anyone who would subject himself, herself, their families to the risk of being president of the United States deserves paramount protection from the kooks out there. And that doesn't matter which side you're on. There are kooks on both sides. So that being said, if that is a law, and I believe it to be, that would be why it got bipartisan support. I do believe that probably the reach of the law is being overstated. But having said that, I have, over many, many years, observed the law of unintended consequences based on poorly drafted laws, such as Obamacare, and to see how they have a highly unintended effect over time. So maybe that's what's happening with this law.
So you're saying that speech could stir up a situation that could get out of control in the president's general proximity?
What a perfect question, Bruce, because that is exactly why yelling fire in a crowded theater is illegal, because that free speech incites actions that are disruptive to society as a whole.
And definitely no game playing around him. Video games.
Yes.
Well, I can understand that, but that's not a voicing of disagreement with a policy or whatever.
But yelling fire in a theater has never been protected by the First Amendment.
That's right. That's a good example.
That is the classic example taught in school and taught in constitutional law, that the free speech is not totally unlimited. There are things relative to child porn and all sorts of things like that that you just can't do on the basis of I have a right to say what I want to say.
What's the difference between standing up and yelling fire in a movie theater and standing up and saying, folks, I hope they change the batteries on all these smoke detectors here in this theater?
Well, again, it's a great question, because the difference is whatever the jury determines the difference to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's no black and white answer to that question. You know what? It's interesting too to think that one through, because we say you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That makes an assumption that there's not a fire. I guess if there's a fire, it's a good thing to yell fire in a crowded theater.
He'll still get sued afterwards.
Well, the way things are going, certainly with what Amnon was talking about in Europe over here, is that they're holding third, 45th party accountable for what others do. You should be accountable for what you do, not for what somebody does utilizing the fuel that you put in your car, or the Goodyear tires that you put on your car. It's just insane. When's it going to stop?
Yeah, Ralston is asking other questions too. Ralston, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time going through reading the chat questions. If you get a chance to call in next week, I think we can help you with a lot of your questions. But you're talking about a delay for profanity. The radio stations use a profanity delay, anywhere from 7 to 30 seconds profanity delay. On the Internet, we don't have one, because we don't have the FCC breathing down our backs on an Internet show the way radio stations do. There is no license for us to lose here. You look at all the porn, smut, and crap that's on the Internet, we could get away with a lot. If someone would come in...
So far.
That's today. But if someone were to come in and to be disruptive and make unnecessary and unwanted sounds, Amnon would turn them off and disconnect them. And would that be unfortunate? Sure, it would be. Would it be distasteful? Yes. But at this point in time, it's not going to have the FCC looking up Amnon and fining him for putting profanity out over the air like it would be with a radio station. Now, to answer your question, because I do produce a show on the internet that is on a radio station. Then the radio station, if they want to delay it, that's up to them. That's their choice. But that could be an issue as well. But the problem with audio and video is that if you're going to put a delay on the audio, you're also going to have to delay the video by an equal amount. That's going to add to the latency of the stream that you were concerned about earlier. That's going to add to the latency of the audio stream. But keeping the audio and the video in sync for 7 to 20 seconds used to be a real serious issue. I don't know if it's still a serious issue. As far as I know, neither Blaster nor Wirecast nor TriCaster nor any of those has anything like a 7-second delay built in to the video. If any of them has it, I'm not aware of it. I know that whenever the networks first started doing a 15-second delay for the Grammys and those other moronic shows where they have this trash on there, they got to come on there and make all their stupid comments like, what's that, Sinead O'Connor, whatever her name is, all that crap they do. It was a very, very expensive process for them to be able to digitally delay the video and the audio for a period of time. Now it's probably you may be able to get an i7 computer with free software and do it. I don't know the answer to that, but none of us does that.
What is that unit that they were showing on TTFN for syncing the video? Hold
Say
it
that
back.
again.
There was some
The Shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's whenever what you're talking about there, though, Amnon, is that with the TriCaster, I don't remember the numbers, but as I recall, it was something like 200 millisecond processing delay for the video to get from the camera through VidBlaster to the CDN. The audio was feeding directly into the streaming computer or into, I'm not exactly sure what the mix was, but anyway, the audio and video got out of sync because it took less time to process the audio than it did the video. Behringer makes a device called a Shark that allows you to delay the audio, and Vance Willis was the first one to try it, and he put the Behringer Shark in series with his audio feed to accompany the video, and I believe he had it set for about 200 milliseconds. Now all of a sudden the audio and video are back in sync. Now that does increase the lag, and when you're doing a two-way conversation over Skype with the audio and video delayed by an additional 200 milliseconds, that's now 200 plus 100, 150, that's 300, 350 milliseconds. That can cause people in a two-way conversation to talk over each other. It happens here from time to time when we get a little bit longer than usual lag. But you get used to it and you learn how to work around it. I can't not think of any way that Shark would be useful as a dump delay. And by the way, if you're doing an audio-only show, there is software out there that allows you to do a profanity delay with a dump button, and I believe the software is free. You just have to run it on a separate PC and stream through that.
And who just called in?
It's me, I'm Gene.
Oh, hey, Gene.
Good morning. How are you?
What's going
I
on?
just thought I'd run something by you guys that I heard last week in conversations with a couple of young men that are involved in the computer manufacturing industry. They were talking about future trends and where it's going, and I found it interesting. Maybe it's academic for some people, but for me, I found it interesting. What they were saying is that in the way that desktops and towers have, basically a thing of the past, laptops are going to be the thing of the past, and the way the architecture is going to look for the most part, and the way people are going to be focusing is on something like, it's almost like a network or a server where you have at your home, you have something like a big cube, and that big cube can act like a desktop. I mean, it's got the right ports in it and everything else, and it's where you store most of your data and you have most of your files and you have great access to it. And then outside of that, the world exists with nothing but smartphones and tablets, and laptops are going to be a thing of the past. Just run that by you guys, see what you think.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I went over to Costco last weekend. I don't remember when it was. I was looking through their computer section. I don't think they have but one or two desktops there. I think the desktop computer in and of itself is probably I don't know. I think it's probably already toast to some extent. I mean, I still prefer them far and away because I put cards in them, and I'm not suggesting that they're not going to be available. But even if you go over to Intrex, you will see that their selection of desktop motherboards is going down. When at Costco and looking through their computer section, one of the interesting things was to look at was their Windows 8 laptops with the touch screens. If you think about it, I believe the touch screen integration into the laptop environment is the easiest, of course, because the screen is matched to the computer. I don't know, maybe it's cheaper as an integrated unit, but I know you can get desktop monitors that are touch sensitive, but I've yet to play with one of those. By the way, I was still not very impressed with the Windows 8 and the touch part, but that's just me playing with it. I don't know where the desktops are going, but I think that, to answer your question, Gene, I think there's something to be said that the face of computing is going to change over the next 10 years. I don't know where it's going. I don't know that that's the case, but I do know that at least the emphasis on desktops is definitely declining. The price of laptop computers has dropped dramatically. You can get a great laptop now easily for $600. I mean, even without going the Chromebook route, you can get a Windows-based machine. Of course, right now if you buy one, it's Windows 8, and I wouldn't recommend that. But if you go get a nice laptop, all my kids are using laptop computers. I don't think any of them has a desktop computer. So there's a lot to be said for that. I don't know what the final shakeout will be.
He's even going, they're even going beyond that. They're saying a laptop is the thing in the past. I mean, it's really just going to be tablets and smartphones. I immediately after that, by the way, I got online and I started looking at desktop, looking for something that, like a desktop that was like a cube. Something small, and of course it'd have to be designed so it's got a tremendous amount of capability. So you got to deal with the heat and all, but something small as like a small little box that you just have on top of your desk or something like that. It takes up no room, but it's where you keep. It's like your central controller, and your access to that, and you keep everything there. You back that up. Your access to that is a device, like a smartphone or a tablet, and even a laptop is something that nobody wants to carry around.
Well, to some extent. I mean, a lot of us are already doing that now. I mentioned earlier, I have a server over here. In fact, the server that I'm using was actually a desktop computer that my daughter had when she was in college. She didn't want it. She now has her third or fourth laptop since then. But it's still, for what I use it for, it's perfect for that as just a file server. However, there's a lot of manual aspect to that. It sounds to me like whatever the system, the architecture that you're talking about, sounds to me like a cloud-based system, which Microsoft and everyone's trying to push everyone into the cloud, but the cloud is at your house instead of on the internet. And I don't think there's any, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think there's any doubt that there's definitely going to be major movement in that direction. The question is whether there's going to be consumer acceptance of it. I don't like it. I'm not interested in it, but I'm not saying that somebody's not going to come along with a new twist that makes it attractive to me. They may. I tried out Linux 3 or 4 years ago. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Playing with it now, and it's definitely more user-friendly and something worth playing with. So I'm not going to say I'm not interested, but there'll have to be something different from what I'm seeing now before I would start switching.
Yeah. What do you think, Bruce? I was just wondering what Bruce thought of that.
No, I kind of agree with what Mike's saying. I have a desktop at home. I have the business laptop that the company provides. I've got my Chromebook, and I've got my Samsung Galaxy Note 2. And, honestly, I mean, I can fire up my Chromebook, just open the lid, and I'm up and running, and I can remote desktop into my desktop back in Virginia and run all the programs there, quite well. So, But I mean, I like having the quad core processor at home for production, video streaming, and that sort of thing. I couldn't do that well on a laptop, so there's always going to be a need for a really good, powerful desktop if you're going to be into content creation and video editing and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm doing a little bit of it myself. I'm carrying around now a Lenovo Helix, and when I go to a meeting or if I go out of town, I just take the tablet portion with me. I leave the docking station home, but if I want to get out my main computer where all my files are, I need to get in again. Like the other night, I needed to get a couple of names to a person that were in an email I had. So I use TeamViewer to access my computer at home. So I'm seeing it already where, at home I'd have this big cube, and I would have all of them, like I said, it'd be like a file server almost. Then it'd be a main docking station if you want. And then, for versatility and ease of use and stuff, if you're a salesman or something like that, you're just running around with a small device and not carrying a laptop around. So it made sense to me anyway. But that's apparently the way to think the manufacturers are going to trend. And I'm looking at who's going to make this beautiful, who's going to manufacture or design this beautiful cube I got in my mind.
Well, there are already plenty of cube computers out there. What is the name of it? Look up Shuttle. I think it is SHUT, just like the spacecraft, the shuttle. There are already small cube-style computers. I don't think the issue is the hardware. I think the issue is the software, the server software that integrates the individual machines at home with this server. Again, I don't think the idea in and of itself is anything new with regard to servers. Linux servers, Windows servers, heck, even Mac has a server. I think there are those servers that, what was the, remind me now, it's been a while. But Bruce, you would connect to a server. In fact, they're still using it at the North Carolina General Assembly when actually you log into the server and you run the application on the server itself. For example, if you log in and start typing in Microsoft Word, you're not using Word on your local computer. You're actually using,
You're not talking about Citrix, are you?
No.
No.
I think it's the same thing. It's the same concept. But Microsoft bought Citrix, but they had what was their internal name they gave for that concept? Because Citrix, what would happen is, for example, if you wanted on your server, if you wanted 10 people to be able to log into the server and use Word at the same time, you had to have 10 Word licenses because you were actually using the program 10 times, 10 users. I won't remember what it was. Dadgummit, but even Windows NT Server had the ability to do it. So anyway, bottom line is I think that's what the technology is all about. I don't think there's anything new about it. I think it's an issue of getting consumer acceptance because only government can dictate what you must do even if you don't want to. Companies can't do that. Companies.
No.
Well, look what Microsoft did with Windows 8. I don't think that they have been successful at stuffing Windows 8 down people's throats. I don't know 5 people using it. Now, without getting all into that, I mean, I think Windows 8 is probably an excellent operating system. I think they made a decision to stuff this new user interface down people's throats, and people say, nope, Windows 7 works better for me. I'm going to stick with it. That's what I've done. That's what I'll continue to do. I haven't seen 8.1. Maybe 8.1 solves the problem. If 8.1 does, then maybe I'll be switching over to that. But at some point, the consumer is going to drive the demand. Now, having said that, my big complaint with tablet computing is the keyboard. Now, there are some people who have various tablets that have keyboards on them, and are able to use standard QWERTY keyboard with keys and all that kind of good stuff, not to touch pad screens. To generate the text for the tablet computer. I've seen those, but my attitude about those is that to me looks like a kludge of a laptop computer. The real attraction to me of a laptop computer is the keyboard. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I find it, I'll agree with you on that, and that's because of basically how old we are, and that type of thing. But I'll tell you, I got grandsons, and they could care less about having a keyboard as long as they could get their input in it that they want to get in. So I think we're going to be looking at the future where maybe even the keyboard won't be that necessary. A couple of things that were said in the chat. One, I'm sorry, I'm on a phone line, and maybe my audio don't sound too good. I apologize for that, but I'm on a phone line, not Skype. The second thing is, I'm not proposing the end of use of a desktop. All I'm saying is I think the architecture of desktop is going to change. I'd just like to see something designed that would be more compact and still very powerful and still have all the ports and everything you need. And that's basically what I was saying. But we still need home base, and in essence, that's what I was looking for. I'm going to look at this shuttle thing. I did go online and try and find. I actually Googled, I think, few desktops or something like that, and some showed up, but they didn't show me much. That's not the kind of architecture I think that we'd be seeing around 10, 15 years from now.
Hey, I have a comment to make regarding the delay conversation that we had a little bit ago. I opened up XSplit. I'm not using it for the stream today, but I updated a new version. And there is in XSplit a delay server where you can specify the amount of seconds. Right now the default is set to 60 seconds. And what it says when you bring up the delay server, while the XSplit delay server is active, all streams will be proxied through it and delayed by the specific number of seconds. Keep this window open while streams are being processed, and then it will tell you the status, whether it's active or not. And then in parentheses it says, this is an experimental feature, requires Java runtime environment 5+. So when I activated the streamer, I got the authorization, do I want to run this Java runtime environment, but there is a delay server within XSplit.
I was just looking on Wirecast, and sure enough, it just says delay and how many seconds do you want it. I didn't read about it, but it does.
I understand that, but that's not going to solve his problem unless you can interrupt the stream.
Right.
For example, if someone does profanity, can you interrupt the streams?
I don't see
10 seconds later.
I don't see any other reason why you would have a delay. Why would you want to delay other than to interrupt it?
Who knows?
I mean, think about it. What other reasons?
I don't know. I have no clue. But if they both have it, then there is a reason for it. They don't add features like that for no reason. By the way, I did post a link, Gene, in chat to a shuttle computer, and they're apparently they're still making them because they're available. But
okay, guys, I'm going to sign off, get off the phone, and get back online. Thanks a lot for the session. Talk to you later.
Good. Talk to you later.
All right, take care.
Shuttle PCs are fairly popular over here. People use them for, attaching to their computers for television recording and stuff like that.
Well, the real attraction to me for a laptop is you don't have to have a separate mouse, keyboard, and monitor. It's a standalone unit. And in fact, some of the people I'm working with for internet broadcasting and podcasting, I'm actually recommending that they get their hands on an old laptop to use it with Jingle Palette to play their music and things like that, because they can set it over to the side. They can use the built-in mouse or trackpad or whatever if they want to, and they don't have to have a big monitor. When you're going to do things like chat and all that, it's nice to have the big monitors in front of you because we've got a lot going on at one time, and some of the laptop screens are just a little too small to be able to manage in real time for us older guys. But for playing back audio, and by the way, I did test Jingle Palette on Windows 7 this past week, and it works fine. So we're safe there for a while for those of us who use it and depend on it very much.
No, they're talking about the delay in Wirecast. I'm just reading. It's actually for syncing the video with the audio. I'm going to try it because there is a little bit of delay. So it'll be interesting.
See you, Gary. I noticed that you called me at 11 o'clock last night. Obviously, I was not available.
Yeah, it's a sync delay. Okay. Let's see.
I did post Think Amnon to. I'll post it again because we didn't talk about it.
To the what?
To the WebRTC app that you and I were playing with.
Yeah,
I just posted it in chat again. If anybody wants to play with it,
yeah.
You and another person, two people. All you have to do is each of you go to this link, apprtc.appspot.com. Follow the instructions. Now, one of the things that you have to be careful about that. In fact, I didn't finish saying this, that one of the things you have to be careful about when you connect is it actually adds an icon. You have to use Chrome or Firefox. When you go to that website and it activates, at least in, well, I don't remember which one, but it added an icon into the search bar that allowed you to control the settings for the audio and video. It allows you to select the microphone and the camera. It does not allow you to select speaker, which if you're using multiple sound cards, that's a little inconvenient. If you're using the machine just for that purpose, it won't make any difference at all. But it's play with it and see what you think. I thought it was pretty neat.
Yeah, and if you're like me and your camera and your mic is already occupied, you'll get an error message when you click on that link. Yeah.
Yes. Don't do it if you're already in a Skype call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gary, why was I not available at 11 o'clock at night? Well, there's this thing called life, sleep, family. I know it seems like I'm in front of the computer 100% of the time, but that's not true. It's never over 95%.
So here's something else that appliance maker Whirlpool has decided to stop using IBM's Notes collaboration software and instead move to Google Apps for Business. The Wall Street Journal reports that the decision was based on both workers' familiarities with Google Apps and lessening the IT workload. Because most workers have used or use apps like Google Calendar and Google Docs, Whirlpool IT staff won't have to devote as much time to initial software training. This move lines up with the recent enterprise reports, which largely forecast an increasing move to cloud-based software. Whirlpool contract with Google will cover all of their 30,000 employees. So IBM is being pushed aside, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Quiet, huh?
Shh.
Let's see what other little stories. Oh, yeah, this, I don't know who's using Bing. Security firm ThreatTrax Security Labs today spotted that certain Bing ads are linking to sites that infect users with malware. Those who click and are redirected to a dynamic DNS service subdomain, which in turn serves the Cyrefif malware from 109.23, well, whatever the, 109.236.81.176. Don't go there. But if you see your computer going to a 109.236, stop it. ThreatTrack notes that the scammers could, of course, be targeting other keywords aside from YouTube. The more popular the keyword, the bigger the potential for infection. That's kind of interesting that Google search normally tells you whether a site may be going to take you to a infected site, while Bing just takes you there. I wonder what Microsoft's going to do about that.
I don't know, but I had an interesting thing happen when I was over at this computer store the other. I don't remember when it was. Time's flying, but a lady brought in her computer, her laptop computer, to have the malware, virus, whatever rootkit removed, and she had fallen prey to this scam where someone says, okay, we need you to click on this, allow us to install this, and they take over your computer and they want $200 to get rid of it. Well, they charge quite a bit of money to get rid of it at this store because it can be a lot of work. And so anyway, they got it in there, and she brought it in, and she said, "Okay, great, glad you got it all worked out." By the way, I had one other question. So they opened. He said, "Do you want to see it working?" Yeah, that'd be nice. So they opened it up. They fired up the computer, went on the internet, showed her everything was fine, no pop-ups, life was good. And she said, "Well, by the way, I had one other question." Yeah, what is it? Said, well, in some of my emails, she said, "Watch." She opened it up. She says, "So you click on this, and it opens this program. You click, but if you click on this one right here, this extension, for some reason, it doesn't open the associated programs." She clicked on it, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. They saw some things fly by really quickly. Nothing happened. She reinfected the computer. Guy had to keep the computer, go back through it, and get rid of the virus again.
If it had been me, before she even got close to doing it, I would have said, "Step away from the computer. This is what happened last time."
Well, I'll tell you, the guy who was working with her is very, very sharp, and in looking at it, it did not appear to him to be a problem. Until he took back over the keyboard, he was not sure that what she had done reinfected the computer. And because he and I talked after she left, and he said as soon as she clicked on it, he said, it occurred to me, but it didn't occur to me until she reached over to click on it, that might be where the problem was, because he was assuming that this particular infection, I don't think most people reported getting it from clicking on links in the email. It's usually a link on a website.
What are you showing?
Well, scary, I clicked on the link that U.S. Rover put in there, and it's the WebRTC, and it says connecting. It's got my video up there, but he only sees a black screen. So I was trying to do a WebRTC on my on the Chromebook.
So do it through Computers 2K now. That it works.
You can't
just hold it up.
Oh, I logged into Computers 2K now. I mean, I can show you. I mean, of course, I've got myself. I've got the audio muted there.
Well, Jason says he sees a black screen too.
Here's Computers 2K now. See, there you guys are.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Amnon switched away when I was waving.
I know.
No, I saw you. Oh,
I saw it.
I don't know.
And I don't know how many people can connect. It may be that only one person can connect. Amnon and I reached the conclusion that this is very, very early stage software. We think it has a lot of bugs in it.
Mm-hmm.
So just play with it as you will and report back next week what you find.
I mean, I tried. It didn't connect. So I reconnected, I realized it's not connecting, so I tried to redo it. That's when it told me the room is full. So I restarted the browser. It says the room is full. I reloaded the page, and it connected. And then once I connected, Mike was trying to do it. It was weird because he initiated it, and I click on the link that he gave me with the right session.
All right.
What?
There you go.
It works.
Hey, I see Bruce.
So it works.
Yeah.
So how did it end up connecting?
I posted. I started a new app, and I put the link in the chat, and so
yeah,
you connected.
Rover disconnected. By the way, before I forget it, I've been meaning to try to do this show, but the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation Walk to Cure Diabetes that we were promoting here over the past few weeks, our friend Beth up in Nashville volunteered to do the walk, raising pledges. Her original goal was $500. She's done this walk for many years. She has two nephews who are both type 1 diabetics, which the chances, the mathematical odds of that happening is 1 in a million, from what I understand. To have, I don't know if they're brothers, but to have both of them to be type 1 is very, very rare. And that's the situation she has. So it's a cause that's very dear to her, and and to me too, because I have loved ones who are dealing with it, and they're having some success dealing with the problem, and we want to support that. Bottom line is, her goal was $500, and not only did once we got involved did we exceed the $500, but thanks to the generosity of some people here and some people listening, she revised her goal to $1,000. And not only did we exceed $1,000, but now she ended up at $2,000.01. And she is extremely grateful, and asked me to relate her appreciation for the what little bit we were able to do in getting the publicity out, and particularly to those who were able to make a financial contribution. And that's significant. That is a significant amount of money to raise to do a walk for a cause, and I'm really happy, and I thank you as well.
That's great. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. So someone else should be able to click on that link, since Dirtbag just dropped out, to see if they can join in. I'm assuming it's the same. It's the same link. So it's kind of interesting. I am kind of curious, Dirtbag.
Yeah, man.
How was my video quality for the Chromebook? And could you hear my audio? Because I'm not sure what I had my audio selected for.
I don't think I heard audio. I think I just heard it over Skype. I'm still Skyping, obviously, but the video looked very good.
Yeah, I'm using
better than your Skype video.
Yeah, of course, that's a capture and a restream. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I'm assuming my audio is set to default, which is the internal microphone on the Chromebook and the speakers. I'm running the beta version of Chrome OS currently.
I'm running the beta version of Linux here.
I didn't think. Never mind.
Everyone's a beta tester.
So we're gonna. What damage are we doing to the space-time continuum while running WebRTC and Skype and Bamboozer at the same time?
Pushing the envelope, people.
Yeah. Reminds me of the picture I posted earlier in the chat about Apple's new headquarters. It looks like it could possibly create a black hole. You know.
Oh, we've got that one over here. That CERN thing, isn't it? That Hadron Collider thingy.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys got a Nobel Prize for their work. I saw.
Well, they found the Higgs boson, apparently. So they just need to know why and how and where and what and if. Did you see the news reports this week that the Scottish government are going to be giving Windows 8 tablets to their members of Parliament?
Oh, come on. They couldn't be doing that.
Are they punishing them for what?
Well, I don't know. It's probably because they want to separate themselves from the the English government, I imagine.
Yeah, they got a good deal on those tablets that Guilford County here returned.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
But they get free health care.
That's right.
All right, Amnon.
Ooh, 12.
12, yeah. It's lunchtime.
Time flies. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. All right. Well, guys, thanks. It was a blast.
Thank you for letting me participate. It's been fun.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Jason, and everybody else that called in and participated. Bruce, Mike, anything you wanted to add?
No, life is good.
I'm on vacation.
Good for you. All right. Well, good afternoon, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday night, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Tonight at 8 o'clock, it's Carrie, and Carrie's Psychic Cafe, and Carrie's will be coming to us from Salem, Massachusetts. All right, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays, 9 a.m. till noon. Carrie's Psychic Cafe with Carrie Silkowski, Sundays, 8 till 9 p.m. Health In with Debbie Bruck, Mondays, 11 a.m. till noon. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays, 1 till 2 p.m. Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members the second and fourth Wednesday of each month from 7:30 till 8:30 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays, 9 till 10 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by thatvidblasterguy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.